Hello. It's been so long. It's been too long. 6 days. Has it been a week? Nearly a week. Is it a week tomorrow since I last streamed? This is why I changed my schedule. I wanted to make sure I was live every day. I said I was going to be live, and we haven't been for like 3 weeks. I've only been live on a Monday and a Tuesday. And I was like, I don't want to just stream on a Monday and a Tuesday. Instead, I was like 5 day in between every stream. I have no excuse. I have no excuse to be like, I'm tired. Oh, it's too hot. It's not that hot right now, even though it's supposed to be. It doesn't feel hot yet. I haven't felt terrible yet. I do have an ice pack. So we're going to see how that goes. But it is 28 degrees. If this is the hottest it's going to get, I think we'll be okay today. Because it is hot, but I'm doing okay. I don't know how. When we missed those streams during the heat wave, like a couple weeks back, it was terrible. I don't know what I did different today, but hey, it worked. It says 29 degrees at 5 p.m. It's gonna get a little bit hotter, but hopefully we should be okay. It's only gonna cool down when I end stream, which is gonna be very annoying, but it's okay. I feel fine. I feel like we can do this. But yes, I have changed the schedule a little bit. I just took out Tuesday. I was like, why am I trying to stream on a Tuesday? There's just no point. I feel like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday works pretty well right now. And that gives me 2 weekdays to do anything else I need to go do. Especially with my last year of uni in September. I think it's the end of September. It's basically October. So I gotta prepare. I know it's June, nearly July. Is it July tomorrow, I think? Yes, it is. So I know I have quite a while until then, but I want to be sure that I have a schedule now that I can stick to until then, right? Like it would make more sense. So I changed it now. Changed it now, not then. We'll just see. We'll see how this goes. I think this is going to work a lot better than trying to do 4 times a week. I don't think 4 times a week was good. It was good during the big Elderwood update. It worked because I just wanted to play the update like every second of the day. So it worked during that. There wasn't a schedule. It was just like, hey, I'm going to stream today. I didn't mean to, but I am. So it worked unintentionally for a little while. And I was just like, no. 3 times a week is good. 3 times a week is good as long as it's consistent. So I do have something tomorrow and I have something on Thursday. So kind of works out. Kind of works out first week at least. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I think I hate not being consistent. That's why I get annoyed myself when I cancel a stream. Ooh, I need to update the follower thing. I always get annoyed myself when I cancel a stream because it's like, why did I cancel the stream? That's just ridiculous. I could have tried to stream, but no, it's too much. I don't like canceling them. So if I can find another way to not cancel them, you know, streaming one less day, then that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I gotta end the goal. This is so annoying how it doesn't update. I think Streamlabs need to fix this because I don't know if there's a way to do it without ending the goal, but for some reason I cannot have my follow goal updated if someone follows offline or unfollows. So it's like, if I had like, I've got like, I think 3 followers while I wasn't even streaming this week. I don't know where they came from. Maybe from my YouTube. We did get a couple of subscribers over there. So maybe they came from there, but I don't know like why it doesn't update. So it says 157. That is not correct. We are 1 away from the goal. So I gotta end the goal and start it over again. Do we do 160 though? Because if I do 160 and it gets beaten within the next 5 minutes, I've got to change it again. I think maybe we'll do 165 just for this stream, and then we'll update before Wednesday's stream, because we're on 159, right? I think which is insane. I don't know where you guys are coming from. It's ridiculous. Oh, I need to mute Twitch. Oh my god, I could have been screaming in my own ear. Where are we on? 159. Okay, we'll do 165. And then I'll set it to Friday. Okay, did it update? No, it didn't. Why is it not updating? No, normally it updates. That's so confusing. Where is it? Goal. Refresh. Nope. That didn't work either. Okay. We are gonna copy the link. Copy the link. Did it work now? No, it didn't. What? Something happened to my follower goal. This is not good. Oh. Why is this happening now? No. I don't know what's going on. Seems you've merged your Streamlabs accounts. What? What? Am I logged in as the wrong account? What account is this? This is the wrong account. Wow. Professional streamer. Oh my god. We've logged into my old Twitch. That is why it's not working. I should have known when I saw the number was completely different. Okay. It's fine. We can update this. Copy. Copy. Yes. Oh my god, I can't select it. Oh, thank god. There we go. Okay, end goal. It has 1 hour left anyway, so there's probably no point in leaving it. Follow goal. 165. 159. And then end it on Friday. It did it. Okay, we're good. Close Chrome. Finally. That took forever. I don't know why that took me so long. I think... Why was I even logged into Streamlabs on my other account? Because like I was logged into my other Twitch before... I think it was like an hour ago. But I don't know why my Streamlabs was logged into a different Twitch. That was weird. But we're okay. We're back to normal. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. We don't have to worry about it. Okay. Okay, we're gonna ignore that now. We're not touching anything. Nothing is getting touched. I'm leaving it alone. Let's get the game up. I don't trust myself to touch anything now. Please work. Oh, thank God. Okay. Dramatic start. Dramatic start. I thought that we could do some weeklies today because I need to get onto the habit of doing them every Monday. And that gives us something to do on a Monday, no matter what. If we're playing PALIA, we're doing weeklies. Even if they're bugs, we're going to try and do them. Because it does take a good couple of hours to get the ones I actually do. The ones I actually do, you know, because I don't do them all. Get them all finished. So, we will do weeklies today. Oh, do I need to... Oh, I need to fix my can soon. I'm going to end up forgetting about it. Okay. We should have some plants because... Yeah, I came online the other day and I actually planted some more trees. So we currently have, I think, 6 apple trees. Some of them are fully grown and producing apples, but some of them not so. They're kind of tiny. And then I have 2 blueberry bushes and tomatoes because I didn't really know what else to... In fact, let's do this first. I didn't know what else to plant. I was like, okay, well, my thing of making money in Paleo right now is apples, like usual, and turning them into jam, and then tomato seeds, right? Tomato seeds are really good. I know a lot of people have been doing... Is it beans? I think it's beans. I know a lot of people have been doing beans. I'm very aware they're very good. We might honestly just go looking for them. Just as like a thing and just see how many seeds we can collect by just foraging for them. And then maybe sell them like that. That'd be funny, but I don't really think I want to make them. I don't know. We'll see. I just feel like selling seeds when they take a long time to produce, it's not worth it for me. Right? It's not worth it for me to be making like... Oh, I thought that wasn't a word. Making so many seeds, but they take like hours, right? How long do they take? They're like apple seeds, right? They take a while. 2 hours for 1 bag. Now, I don't have the patience for that. I've just gone into the patience of like, let me plant something and grow it and sell it. That I can do. And like the jams, I put them in, I go to bed, I wake up, and they're there. So that's good. This is not. I'm not doing it. It's like 2 hours for 1 seed, and I know they make a lot of money. Not worth it to me. They're not worth it. So instead, we do tomato, because tomato is easy. And I can put them in and just go to sleep. And they're done. In fact, I can put them in, go about my day, come home when they're done. So, we're just going to keep putting them in and getting those done. And then let's sell those and put those into the jams. I should have some jam in here, actually. So I actually did a couple of things. I'll show you guys before we get started on anything, but I did a couple of things off stream the other day. I did say now I'm kind of like okay with the idea of playing a little bit of PALIA off stream. However, I think now that we're kind of caught back up with things and we have things planted finally, because that took me a while to do. We had to what were we trying to do? We had to get like enough apples to actually make into seed. It was very complicated. It took me a while to get more apple seeds. So like at that point I was like, I don't want to do anything new yet. But now I'm like, okay, I think I'm at the point where I feel okay with like starting up with stuff. So I think, oh, let's put these apples in. I'm distracted. I think right now, I feel like I'm at the point where maybe I can actually make my second account to play off stream. So that all we're doing on stream now is playing on this account. And I'll be like, I'll be so excited to play it because I won't have played it in forever. So I think I might make it. I think I might do it. I'm scared to do it though, because basically the reason why I want to make another account to play PALIA on is how bad I am with oh, we won't put them in there. We'll take those, Saseki. The reason why I wanted to make another account was because I never read dialogue. And the amount of things I've missed in-game from not reading dialogue, it's embarrassing. So, and I love this game so much that I feel like I can dedicate that little bit of like extra energy into restarting everything, but not on this account. Because if I have to restart on this account... Oh, we need to change something about my hair. If I have to restart everything on this account, I would cry. But... Wait, why is it not... Is there something wrong with the... Wait. Oh, there it is. I was like, huh? Yeah, it like... I feel like I just need to do it. I have been putting it off for maybe like 2 months at this point. And I've had a good thought. Think about it. Think restarting on a brand new fresh account, but still having this one, but only playing that on that account when I'm not streaming would be so much better, that I can then come on stream and talk about stuff that I've actually learned, because I don't even know half the things about the characters in the game, even though I love them. Which is good for them, because if I actually like them and I barely know anything about them, they must be great characters. But I need to invest into PALIA like I do with a TV show. I need to know everything. I need to obsess, okay? So I think we're gonna try and do that. But yeah, while I was off stream this weekend, I say this weekend, we didn't stream all day last Thursday, what was it? Wednesday off, Friday, but we ignore that. That didn't happen. On the weekend, I was like, yeah, I want to play a little bit of Palia. So we just did some little stuff, like not big stuff. Just me, not big stuff, I know. But I did this little thing here. I just thought it looked cute. It's better than what I had. I had like a big thing of like flowers and it was kind of driving me insane. I don't know what this is. We're going to ignore this. It was just me messing around, okay? But then I made this path because I've already done all of this. It looks nice. I love the pivot. Thank you. It takes forever to do and uses a lot of the building limit. So I might have to rethink it a little bit. But I did all of this maybe a month ago now, just before the Eldwood update. And then the other day I did this one, which you can tell it's kind of slightly different to the other ones. But yeah, I did this and I moved these over here. They were over there. I moved them over here. I can't do paper in my plot. Oh, it's annoying because I love these pavers so much and I just want the ability to use them without it counting as decor. No, I'm not going to ignore it. Damn it! Hi, Tony. If anyone was going to hold me to it, it would be you. I'm so sorry. We have a new schedule, okay? Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I swear I am trying to do everything in my power to be a consistent professional streamer. Too much iron limit for me. Yes, I hate it. I do. I want the ability to just place like a bunch of the most random things. Like I want to be able to put things on the plot and them not count. Like I expect like, let's think. Something like, obviously the crafters, but then also just like, you know, like these items. Like these items, obviously they should count. I get it. But why do these count? Why do these count? It drives me insane because I love this. This paving is like so nice. I love it. It gives me like woodland vibes. But you see how many there are. Like the amount of decorating I've done inside here is minimal. So most of the limit of the items is from this. Not good on my part. Not gonna lie. It's not. But hopefully we might get an increase. Especially with the animals that are coming soon. Hopefully they're coming soon. I say soon, but we don't know when. Hopefully that'll give us an increase. Because we need the animals, right? Where are they going to put them? They're not going to be able to say that they don't count. It's very confusing. Times go fast. My plushie bill is at 3001. Now that they upped the limit, I want to put more on it. Oh my god. I wish I had that many plushies to have an entire village. My plushies are like 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Do I have any in here? Oh, 6, 7, 8. Any here? 8. 9. I guess we don't class the potato pods as them. I have 8 in the house, I think. 3 out front. And then we have like maybe 20 in storage. I do not have enough. You're consistent. You won't be recognizable if you become consistent. Oh my god. I was consistent for a little while when we made the schedule and I was so hopeful. And then we had the heat wave. It stopped me from streaming at least 3 times that week. I couldn't do anything about it. Today it is 28 degrees. It's going to go to 29 in the next hour or two. But it's not that bad for me right now, so I'm okay. But if my body isn't going to function, I can't stream. And then I beat myself up over it. I'm like, I want to stream so bad, but I can't. And then there were a couple times where I had like other stuff happen out of my control again. So we will try though. I tried so hard. I really do want this to go smooth. I want to see you guys. I want to speak to you guys. I love this. So I will be trying my best. I think the 200 plushies made it. Oh my god, you have 200 of them. That is so cute. You have a whole village of 200. 200? How do you have so many? Hello! Hello, guys. Cyborg and Muffins. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's having a good day. Hope you all had a good weekend. I had, kind of a productive weekend, but I also did like, a lot of... Hello! Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. The Twitch goal just got beaten. This is a new goal, but the Twitch goal actually on Twitch just finished. So thank you so much for being the person to do that. You need to get a fan. I have a little one. My mum has a big one, which is like obviously what I need. But to be honest, it just pushes the hot air around. It doesn't do anything. If I needed anything, it would be the air conditioning thing. I've seen them advertised, but I do not have the money for that. Okay, if I did, I would have it. My room is the hottest room and the coldest room, if that makes any sense to any of you guys. Somehow it is. And my PC is literally a heater on its own, so there's not really much you can do about it. It's just kind of how it goes, but I'm kind of hoping that we have normal weather from now on. Because this heat isn't too bad. It's hot because it's 28 degrees, but it's not terrible right now. I was playing since the beginning. I've been playing since the alpha tests, and I am not a very good plushie collector. Clearly, I love them. Obviously. But I've just not gotten very lucky, or I've not tried hard enough either way. That's how my room was before I moved to where I am at now. Oh, it's like in the winter, it's freezing cold. And in the summer, it's just hot all the time. There are certain games. In fact, there is one game I will not play if it's hot. Because it makes my PC so hot. It's insane. Like, and it's fine for the PC itself. But when the PC gets to a certain temperature, the room is so hot. It's ridiculous. So I can't play New World when it's this hot. I haven't played it in a while. But yeah, I cannot for the life of me play New World when it's this hot. So we don't need the lure. Every time it gives me the lure, I don't need it. Yeah, I haven't I have rules. I do have rules where I'm like, yeah, it's so hot that we're not gonna even open that game up. Have it near your window so it blows the hot air out. I don't open my window. You guys are gonna flame me for this. I don't open my window because about maybe 10 years ago now, actually, it's insane. There was a situation where I woke up in the morning to a buzzing noise and a scattering. Like a scattering noise, like something was... Yeah, there was something about this big on my wall above my head, and there was a bee in my room. I don't open my window anymore. Judge me all you want. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. Oh. Why is it not letting me place it here? Hello? Oh, that's annoying. I was gonna place him, like, next to the others. That's so rude. Oh my god. It is hard to get plushies, but I love them. Right now I'm making amusement park. Use the remaining ones I have as a guest. That's so creative. I love it. I love that. Oh my god. I love that idea. I wish I was that creative in PALIA. I've struggled. Oh, there we go. There we go. That'll do. I've struggled so much with making like ideas in this game. Like, this to me looks so boring compared to other people's builds. I'm like, I am a decorator as well in games, like I am. But this doesn't look remotely anywhere near as good as what I've seen other people do, and it makes me really mad. So... Hell no, I don't blame you. Yeah, it was not fun, and you can imagine, I'm 25, so I was a teenager. I'm pretty sure when this happened. You can imagine how dramatic I was. Since then, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. You can have the windows outside my room open to some extent, like, I'm fine. Do not open my window. It's nice, very nice to decorate. It looks okay. I don't hate it. I just think I could do better. I think I could do better than this. It's very plain. There's not enough decorating done. Which we're building on it, like I said. I built a new path. It counts. All houses in Australia have window screens because we have so many scary things. I'm like going, oh, yeah. If I lived there, I wouldn't even go outside the house. In fact, I wouldn't live there for that reason. Everything else, like, it isn't going to put me off, but that will. That will put me off. It's bad enough in the UK when it gets hot, but when it's really, really wet outside, Otherwise, it's fine. I love it though. Really? Oh no. I think it's okay. It's just a bit plain. Yeah, problem with books getting used to booknet to cover your window works for me. I don't know, like, I've never really thought of getting one. But if this heat gets worse in the UK for the next, like, however many years, it's just gonna get worse. We might have to think about it. We might have to think about it. Oh, wait, what time is it when we water the plants? They need doing again? No, they do not. Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Somehow I've done this. Can anyone explain this to me? I did not catch a single bug today. I haven't even opened the game. How is this completed nearly? Is this like carried over? Do they carry over from the past week if you don't finish it? I just feel like this is very confusing. Because last week we had a problem where these two were reversed. It completed the wrong one. So I don't know what's happening. It shouldn't. I've never seen that. It's so weird. I think my account is just like fully bugged because I have not logged on until today. And like, if anyone's online that has me as a friend, you will know I didn't log on until stream. So I logged on at like 2:30 and it's 3:30. I haven't played. I haven't even left the plot yet. What you guys have seen is what I've played, okay? The game likes to make my account bugged. I don't know what is going on. All these other ones... So this one we did. We did this one. That one makes sense, right? That's fine. The rest of them are bugged. And I don't know why. I really don't know why. We're gonna try and ignore it though. Let's go and sell these and then go and catch some bugs, I guess, even though we don't really need to. Which food did you teach him on the Switch? You hear me, don't you, Tony? Are you gonna celebrate the day that I actually do that? Silence is it all. No comment. No comment. She's been playing the guitar though. I'm proud. Honestly, I haven't played guitar in so long. She's probably going to be better than me by the time I get it. 'Cause I get it in like 5 days, guys. On Saturday, my guitar should be showing up. So I'll update you guys on Monday on whether I'm actually terrible at guitar now. Even though it's never really all that good, but... I just got that out last night. It's so cute. I didn't think it was out yet. And then someone said something on like TikTok video or something. I was like, wait. It's out. And now if you know me enough, if you don't, then this is a new fact. My favorite flower is a sunflower. It's just so pretty, like. And I saw this version of it. I fell in love with the original version, the blue one. They showed on the what was it, the patch notes. I thought that one was so pretty. I was like, I need it. And then I saw this one last night. I was like, oh my god, I need it. So I bought it this morning. She's probably good because she hasn't got PALIA to play. We don't even know if she can play it yet. Because she gets like really bad motion sickness and stuff. So I'm a little bit concerned that she's not even going to be able to play it. But I will do it. I promise. It's just a matter of when. We are trying to plan so many things as well. So like... It's a situation of future PALIA. My guitar comes on the 5th, so I need to be doing that as well. I need to be streaming consistently. We are planning some little trips, right? And I have to like think about when we're going to do that. It's like... Life is so like... I get stressed about all these little things all piling up into one. One day, you never know. You never know. She might hate PALIA. Imagine she hates PALIA. Could it be me? Could it be me? Could have been me. Wait. Could have been me at one point. Have you guys met yet? No. No. Look. Look. I want them to like... I wish they could interact. How cute would that be? Oh my god. You promise? How many months you've been saying that now? Honestly, there's just so much stuff that happens. Now that I have the extra day though, maybe we will. Not this week because we're busy, but maybe on the Saturday. I don't know what we're going to be doing on Saturday. I just need like a time to sit down like for a little while. It can't just be like, hey, here's the Switch, mom, have it. Now play it. I don't think you understand. I gotta go through... Green onion. I gotta go through everything. Okay. And she's gotta be in the right frame of mind too. I will update you when I do. I feel like I'm being harassed. Teacher now. I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about that now. I'm gonna stop talking about how hard you do it. Anyway, in other news, I am trying to bring my wavy hair to the surface, and I don't know how I feel about it. I kind of love it. I kind of hate it, and it's very very complicated. This is what I'm working with. It looks better with a headset. Oh, we lost a bug. It looks better with a headset than without the headset. Yeah, it looks beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I did it better yesterday. Basically, I bought a hairdryer a couple of months back, and I didn't buy one with a diffuser attachment. And at the time, I didn't care because I was like, nah, my hair's just straight. Like, it's not got any wave to it. It's fine. It's whatever. I'll dry it straight. And then it started to, like, do this little wavy thing. And I was like, okay, I need a diffuser. So I bought one that, like, basically is supposed to go in every single hairdryer. It does its job. It's okay. It falls off now and again. But it's okay. And then I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I'm going to try. I'm gonna try to keep at it and stay away from the other heat balls, because I'm not gonna lie, I am a bit bad with it. I've been curling my hair a lot since I started streaming again. Pretty much every day I streamed, I was curling it because I thought it looked better on stream. And then I've basically realized that if I do this with my hair, I have to be consistent. So I gotta be consistent with everything. We gotta be consistent with everything. Which, for me, could be realistic, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Say that about everything. But it isn't the easiest thing to maintain. It isn't the easiest thing to maintain. So... we gotta see how it goes. I might end up hating it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's just so much easier to dry your hair, like, straight. And then just, like, do whatever you want with it. But when it's like this, I cannot brush it. Okay? I brush it before I dry it. And then it's... I don't brush it. I haven't brushed this today. So it's like... I don't know. I don't know. It looks like it would look if I put it in a braid and slept on it. So, that used to be long and curly, but when it was long, it looked wavy. I think a lot of the time it can look wavy if it's too heavy, or if it's okay. We don't need to do those butterflies. If it's too heavy, or if it's damaged, or anything like that. But my hair has been through a lot. And it's now at a point where it's... I would say it's healthy now. When I straighten it, it's very shiny. So, like... I don't know if, like, all the years of straightening it and drying it straight damaged it in some way. Not in, like, the way that my hair's broken off or anything like that. But it definitely didn't help when I was a teenager and dyed it purple and bleached it every month. So that wasn't very good. But it's definitely a point now where if I use too much heat on it, it's definitely gonna damage the curl pattern of it, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm trying really hard to not touch it. It's so difficult. It's so difficult. But if I don't have straight hair, I shouldn't be treating it like straight hair. So, because like my mum has curly hair and I'm always like in awe of it. When she does it natural, I'm like, oh, I wish my hair looked like that. But it doesn't. I didn't get the curl, I got the wave. I don't know where the wave came from. Because her hair is a lot tighter curled than this. But I always wanted, this is the thing though, I always wanted my hair to be like this. Which is the funniest thing. As a kid, I was like, oh, I really want like, I want like wavy hair. I just want wavy hair that looks like I slept in a braid. It's been there the whole time. But I've spent probably like 15 years. Yeah, about 15 years drying my hair straight with a brush and then straightening it or curling it with a like a hair wand. Like, why? Why did I have to do that to myself? My sister's is weird. You just must have like a curly hair gene. Because I don't know if my brother's hair. No, I think my brother's hair is quite straight. I don't think it would be very curly if you tried. I think it would be quite straight. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's definitely from my mum though. I definitely got the hair from my mum. But I just always trim my hair like it was straight. And it's like, apparently the more you treat it how it should be. So like if you have curly hair, you should treat it like it's curly, obviously. But the more you do that, the curlier it gets. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds like a lie. But it's not a lie. It is truth. Silver. It is the truth. Apparently, if I do this with my hair, like, more frequent, and, like, for a certain amount of time, it will start to look better, so I'm trying to hold out. Trying to hold out hope. My mum's was straight, my dad has curly, so, yeah, so you get it from that side. I find it really funny, though. Like, so my brother mustn't have got the curly gene from my mum. It's funny though. I think that might be the one thing that would separate us from even remotely not looking alike, because I personally, he might disagree, but I personally think if you put all three of us together, you can tell. You can tell we're related. You can tell. So maybe the hair might be the only thing that doesn't. Where are all these bugs at? I don't see any of them. Is everyone else doing their weeklies? I'm going to assume that they are. But I would have thought people... Does everyone else start from the beginning of the list of the weekly quests? Because I try to, but obviously I skip some of them. But like right now, it feels like everyone else is taking all the bugs. All there is these butterflies and I don't even need them. I don't need the butterflies. We can try and go to Elderwood and do the cave pixies, I think it is. But they didn't work last week and it bugged my game. So I'm not going to be happy if if I go and do that and then it bugs the game. I don't know if that's a good idea. How many do we need? 7. I just go grab a hunt, chop it all at the same time. Really? I get distracted too easily if I do that. I get way too distracted if I do that. I don't think Elderwood bugs work for it because it didn't for me and my friends last week. Well, I did it in Elderwood and it completed for this. I didn't catch them with other people. I just caught 10 uncommon bugs. And I kept looking at this one being like, why is it not completing it? Which gladly this week it is. But it didn't complete this, but it somehow completed this, even though there were no other people catching them with me. So I don't know. Maybe we try Bahari. Maybe we try Bahari, because all I found is 3. They found 3. But yeah, I don't know if they I think they did say though that they updated it so that the Elderwood bugs did count. Or the Elderwood things did count for the weeklies. So I've twisted him. So I would have thought that it would count. Go catch the snails. But there's not that many of them. There wasn't that many of them. That's a good point. Maybe I'll try solo for that one in Elderwood. Yeah, I don't know why it did that though. I don't know if it was just a bug. Okay, so not those. Okay. I don't know if it was just a bug. Like, which is quite funny actually with it being the bug weekly, but yeah, it just like it was okay because technically like I wasn't even gonna do that one purposely anyway. But it was just like very annoying. Very annoying to be like, oh, now I can't do it because it wouldn't let me complete the achievement no matter what I did. I don't think it let me complete it. So it was just bugged the whole time. And as much as I wouldn't have done the other achievement with other people and like call the bugs with other people, I was annoyed that I couldn't even remotely try and do the other achievement. So I hope it doesn't happen again. Although the bug catching worked except in common, maybe it's a bug. Yeah, I probably should have reported it. I kept saying that I should report it, but I just got... Guys, my memory is terrible. I say something in stream and I need to note it down. I need like a little notepad. I could use my phone, but I never look at it. Maybe I should buy some sticky notes or something. I forget sometimes too. It's so bad. Every time I'm streaming, I'm like, let me put in my phone. And I have a list. I have a list where it's like, make sure your graphics card's updated or make sure like OBS is updated and like do this, do that before I start stream. Just don't look at it. I just don't look at it. So I think I need to... Well, actually, I was thinking of going to TK Maxx tomorrow. See if my mum wanted to go after my appointment. So maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see. Might find something there that's good for it. I could just like have it somewhere myself. Because I do need to remember. And I'm just horrible. Sometimes people are doing for me in the middle of the match. Then by next game, I'll forget about it. Ooh, yeah. I used to do that. When I was playing like PALIA or PALIA? Fortnite or Valorant on stream. It was like, oh yeah, I'll do that in a minute. Nope. If you get sticky notes, you'll end up with sticky note wallpaper. I'll look at it after stream, get it finished, and then throw it. Right? I won't keep them all. I don't have anywhere to put them on my wall anyway. I wouldn't be able to. I have got a little bit of a space though, over here, that I could put something. And if I'm going to be getting rid of my Switch and giving it to my mum, I have a little bit of a space over there too. Yeah, I'll believe you. Trust me, I'm not the kind of person that likes to leave things in a list and not do them. Sometimes stuff just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And there's not much I can do. But, you know, if I had a little sticky notepad, then if I said something on stream, I could remember it. That'd be so funny. I just feel like... I don't know, maybe it needs to be a redemption thing. Maybe I should do that. Be like, get it done now. Do it on stream. Show us that you are completing the task. Be right back. Okay. Yeah. I feel like sometimes I only remember things because Tony comes into stream and screams at me about it. Which is fine, honestly. It's a W, I'm not gonna lie. You know, like, oh, I forgot about that. Oh, I didn't do it. Okay. I'll do it soon. But like, yeah, I have had a list in the past. Like, a good couple of weeks back, I had a list accumulate of like 5 different things. I didn't have time to do it. And then finally, I ended up doing it all in one day. Okay, I can't see anything in game. I don't know why. Because this is what it's supposed to look like. But this is what it looks like. It's terrible. I don't know why I can't see anything. It's honestly terrible. Am I being followed? Am I being followed? Or is that just coincidence? It's a bit like I'm being followed in PALIA. Okay, I think we're fine. I always feel like I'm either following someone else, or it feels like I am, or they're following me. Okay, how many more do we need? 4. Damn, this is taking so long. Usually I can get this done very quick. It's also very annoying because in the Elderwood, I think it's the cave pixies. It's one of them that spawn in the cave. You can go and get it done in probably like a minute. Because you just go in the cave and catch them all in there and you're done. Whereas in Bahari or in Kilima, you literally have to look around for like 10-15 minutes just to find them. And I don't know how long we've been doing this. It could have been like 20-30 minutes by now. We need 3 more. 3 snails. I don't know where they spawn, so we're just running around like a lunatic trying to find them. Like, I don't know where. I think there are some that do spawn by the beach, but I think they're like a higher rarity, so. I almost feel like if it was a common bug, it would be hell of a lot easier, even though it shouldn't be that different. It would be so much easier, like, I can just catch them all. Right now I'm like, I'm struggling. Shouldn't be this hard to find snails. Where are they all? Okay, I know they spawn down here. Do we see any? Or do we have to travel back to Kilima? I would like to try it in Elderwood, but I'm not going to risk it just because I don't want it to bug out again. So I think we go... back to Kilima. And see. See what we can find. I think they do spawn down the bottom end more than anything. I don't think they really spawn up top. Because I know that if I want any kind of bug, I just go near the water if I just need a bug. Doesn't matter which one, but if I need one, like a random one, I just go down there. Apparently they all spawn down there. I think it is mainly, is it dragonflies? We'll see. Let's go and have a look. All I need is 3 snails. Let's check over here before we actually go around. Oh god, you know it's hot when you wear glasses and they just start falling down your face. They're gonna do that all stream and it's gonna bug me so much. Hopefully it's not warm tomorrow. Like, I don't mind. In fact, I don't mind warm. I don't like hot. I don't mind warm. I just don't like it hot, right? What's the temp? It's 28 right now, but it should be going up to 29, I think. Which for the UK, like... quite hot, but it's not terrible for me right now. We had like a horrible heat wave. Like a good 4 or 5 days of just like nearly 30-degree temperature and it was just like unbearable. Whereas right now it's the same temperature, but I'm not as hot. I don't know what I'm doing different. Maybe I've drank more water today than usual. I think I drank about 2 liters before I started stream. But... green onion. Gotta pick up all the green onion. I don't care if we need them anymore. I'm just picking them up. It's become a meme. I have to pick them up at this point. Why did they make things look so different? That is not how it normally looks. I thought that was like a rare bug or something then. Game's confusing me. Recently moved to Queensland, Australia and got up to 36 in the summer. No, thank you. No, thank you. I would not be able to handle that. Like, sometimes 20 degrees is hot, even though it's not seen as hot by most people. But when it gets like 25, I would say it becomes unbearable. But that 36 is insane. I don't think I could do it. I think I would melt. Actually, thinking about it, I think I would physically melt. I actually don't think my body could survive it. I would be like, you know when people leave things on the dashboard in the car? You know when they do that and then they come back to the car and it's like melted because it's so hot? That's what would happen. I would be the thing that melted. I can imagine that. Okay, are these snails... Do they not spawn 24 hours? Am I just being silly? We only need 3. We found 3 very quick at the beginning, and all of a sudden now the game's like, ha ha ha. Now you need them, we're not gonna give them to you, huh? Obviously this guy's not gonna count. But I want him. Thank you. Okay, the moths don't count because they're common. No, you don't count. Why is this so difficult? Oh my god. I don't think they spawn any uncommon at night. Check up on high ground. None of here? Let's go check on this, like, field. Yeah, there's one there. What's that? No, it's a moth. I don't need a moth. There's so many moths. I don't need them. These don't count either, right? Nope, they're common. Damn it. They're common. Oh my god. They don't exist. I'd start in 3 minutes. You only get them in Killamar. I went to Bahari. I got like 2. So I'm just trying to find uncommon bugs. And there's only so many of them. And for some reason they are extremely difficult to find. We found one. Now we need 2. But yeah, I did go to Bahari to try and find some too. So now we're back and I've only found 1. I don't remember it being this difficult when I played at the beginning of the game. Like when the game first came out, I think a lot of this stuff was easier and they've just made it way harder. Kyle, we found one. I didn't mean to find it. Ooh, we got a new recipe. Nice. Well, back in my day, no, literally back in my day, like what? 2022? Or 2021 was alpha. Sometime around there because the game came out in 2023. So like back in my day, even though I can't go into detail about that, it's gonna actually like destroy me that I cannot talk about the alpha ever. Unless they decide to be like, hey guys, we're releasing you from your NDAs. I'm gonna be like, yes. I have screenshots that I can't do anything with. Like screenshots I took to like report stuff. And you guys are never gonna see it. I usually go to Bahari around the evening for lunar fairy moths because I feel like those are all over the place. I feel like all I'm getting right... I'm getting so many ladybirds. This is insane. I feel like I just try and go for these snails because usually there's so many of them and right now they don't want to spawn. You know, like when you need something, the game is just like, yeah, I'm not gonna give it to you now. Like you could see 50 of them the day before and you log back on and you need to do something and it's like, huh. You thought. But no. What is this? Another one? Oh my god, where are these all coming from? There's two, but usually that's the case. Oh, it's just annoying. Like, I don't even want these. I'm just picking them up so I have them. I'm just picking them so I have them. I don't even need them. Like, I want snails. Do the snails not spawn? Are you uncommon? No, you're not. Oh my god, ads are gonna begin any minute now. I get things all the time now that I found hours for. I know, same. It's very annoying. Back when the game first came out, I had nothing, and now people start with a house now. That drives me insane. More than anything you can find. The fact that people start playing the game with a house. What do you mean? I had to live in a tent for 2 weeks because it took 40 hours to build one, like, part of the house. That's crazy. It only takes, like, what, 30 minutes now, I think, to build the house or something. Something like that. It took hours. It used to take hours. Okay, it's starting to be morning time soon, so maybe we'll find the other three. Other two? Other three. That's starting now. Oh my god. I didn't get to play back then. Oh my god. Honestly, I don't know if you're here or if you're in Agile, but if you are here, the game kind of feels nostalgic now. Now that it's been out for that long, it honestly feels kind of nostalgic in a sense. Even though I play it every day, it's just like I can remember the old days of the game. And it feels very nostalgic. Because like half of my friends list do not go online anymore. And they were alpha testers. So I feel like the fact that most of the alpha testers somehow don't play the game anymore is crazy. I don't know how many of them stopped playing, but I'm pretty sure anyone I had as a friend during the alpha either only started playing again recently or still hasn't played in like a year or so. I just think it's crazy. It's crazy. I don't think I could ever fully leave the game and never play it. I can go like a week without playing it and then I really, really miss it. But I couldn't go more than that. After a week, I'm already like, oh my god, I need to play it, but more than a week, I'd be going insane. Oh, that's new. Okay, they should start to spawn soon if they don't spawn at night. I feel like they don't spawn at night. And that's why we weren't finding any of them. Hopefully they start to spawn now. In fact, not now, but in a minute. How long is it going to be? Maybe like... maybe 3 a.m. Maybe at 3 a.m. they spawn. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. Like, I literally watched a video just before stream about being bored while playing games. And how it's connected to just like looking everything up. Now I don't want to look anything up because it makes me sad. So I'm like struggling. I'm like, I need to look this thing up, but I can't. If I do, that makes me sad. It makes me feel bad. Like, I'm not paying attention to the game. Although, to be honest, with this account, we already failed that a long time ago. I could apply the no searching rule just to the other account I'm gonna make. Although, I don't even know what to name the other account. I have no idea what to name my other PALIA account. Because I don't want to go through the process of making a help form and be like, hey guys, can we change my username, please? I just wish we had like a ticket for like maybe like every 3 months or something, you can change your name. Instead of having to go to them and be like, hey guys, please change my name. When I started streaming this account, I had to go to them and be like, hi, I was just wondering, like, how do I go about changing my username? Oh, we can do that for you. Just let us know what your username is right now. And then let us know what you want it to be. And I was like, oh god. Oh god. Because, like, can you imagine being like, yeah, can I change it from Nefarious to CosyKas, please? Like, it was just so awkward. They were fine with it. They took like 10 minutes to do it and it was done. But I was nerve-wracked that I had actually spelled it wrong. I didn't, but I thought I might have. And that they were just going to be like laughing at me or something. Like, I don't know why. I don't think they would. I just feel like it's embarrassing, right? To be like, yeah, this is my username. Like, that's my like FPS name. Okay, I use that for Fortnite and Valorant and stuff still because it fits. It does not fit PALIA. Can you imagine walking around with a name that means wicked? And like, I don't even know. What else does it mean? It's like wicked and cruel or something. That's basically what it meant. I didn't know that when I made the name, really. So like, I don't want to stream with an account name that I chose when I was like 15 and stuck with for some reason. I'll never be able to leave the name though. I get that it'd be easier to just fill the thing out. Exactly. I think just being able to log into my account and change it would be so much better. Or like, just let us go to like Gel's shop, right? Let me go to his shop and purchase like a ticket thing, like an in-game thing to be able to change it. Like, give us a ticket to go to Gel and be like, hey, change my name. It works better for most games. Yeah, that's the thing. It works fine for pretty much every game out there to just change your name when you want to. It's like, I think Epic Games gives you a 2-week ban, basically from changing it for like every 2 weeks. You can only change it. So you can't change it more than every 2 weeks, but it works fine. Like, if you make a mistake, it's your own fault, but you've got only 2 weeks to wait. I did that, and then finally it let me change it back to what I wanted it to, but 2 weeks is fine. A month is fine. 3 months is fine. I don't want to ask someone to change it for me. It's awkward. It's awkward, right? It's like, if I can order food, it does apply to this. Like, if you can order food by going to the till and saying to the person, like, this is what I want, please. But you want to take, like, 3 things off and add 2 things on. Like a burger or something. That is awkward. I don't want to ask someone that. If I can do it on a machine, it would be a lot better. It would be a lot better because I don't want them to roll their eyes. I don't want them to roll their eyes at me if I'm for it. Like, the same thing applies. Same. See, human interaction, ew, exactly. Now, like, I'm fine in some ways, but it's like, if I go to, like, McDonald's or something, like, I'm not gonna go to the till and order it, because that's awkward. I don't want onions, I don't want mustard, I don't want pickles. Or gherkins, whatever you call them. I don't want that. I don't want that. Don't give me that, please. It's like, I don't like sending things back either. For the same reason. If I could do something without having to talk to them and make it awkward, I will. But I'll order a drink in person. I'm fine doing that. Like, I don't think I would order it through a machine because I feel like it would have more chance of being messed up. And it's like, Subway have the machines now. I don't know how I feel about that. Because I feel like the chances of the sandwich being messed up, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I trust it at like other places, but not my sandwich. So we have machines. Mine does. Mine does. There's like 2. Like double-sided. So it's like screens on both sides. I only found this out like this year, I think. I think we went to go get food and I got like food from somewhere else, but my mum went to go get a sandwich from Subway and we walked in and it was like, oh, there's machines. And she tried to do it and it was just too complicated. I think she went to the till. Come here. I'm bored with bug catching. One more. But yeah, Subway with machines just doesn't work for me. I don't think. It's like when you order food, it's such a big risk that it's not going to be what you ordered. The amount of times I ordered food in the past, like I don't really order food anymore because I don't really eat takeaway and anything anymore, but in the past I used to eat it a lot and every time I would order food, it would be wrong. So what do? You're like, yeah, you complain, but what? You still don't have food. You still don't have your food. I'm like, the worst part is when you order something like, you order like main food, but then you order like a cookie or something and then the cookie doesn't turn up. How am I supposed to be okay with that? Right? Like that would send me into overdrive. I'm like, no. I was so excited to eat this and now I'm just so sad. Gladly, I don't have that problem anymore because I just don't order food. It's my own fault now. I make my own food. If something doesn't go right, it's my own fault. Which honestly kind of sucks. You know, where like when you're cooking food and you just burn it and you have nothing left to remake it with. Oh my god. No. I thought that was going to happen today because I made like an omelette. A very, very plain omelette, might I add. It was literally just egg. I'm not gonna lie. But it was so thin because the pan that I made it in was so big. I like, this is gonna burn. I'm gonna burn it. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna burn. It didn't burn, I was very happy. I managed to not burn it, which like, for stream. If I'd have burnt that. Yeah. I'd have probably ended up being late to stream. So, thanks to the eggs for not burning. I honestly didn't have much of a clue of what to even eat for stream. I had a good breakfast though. I managed to, I kind of like just think of like, my meals right now are actually just like how much protein can I fit in this one meal? Which sounds very sad because it is. But if I don't eat enough protein right now, I'm gonna be so hungry. So like, my lunch sucked. My lunch sucked because all it had in terms of protein was 2 eggs. I'm not gonna lie. It barely had anything to it. My breakfast was like 50 grams of protein. Now, I only need like 70 grams of protein, so I've eaten all my protein for the day. Like, I don't know what to do. No, I'm gonna eat more. Because I need protein in all my meals. But my breakfast was literally like, oh, what did I have? I had oats that I like turned into like oat flour essentially. Protein powder, but then I also had like this protein pudding that I mixed in a blender all together. It was so smooth. But now that I'm thinking about it, it could have been even better if I used like Weetabix instead of the porridge oats. Maybe Weetabix would have been better for it, but it was so smooth. I'm bad. I just had to print a couple of him and stuff my dad needed for. Oh, I hope everything's going okay. I hope you guys are holding up real good. Oh my god. Is it getting hot? I just went really hot. Oh my god, it is. Okay. We'll see how hot it gets. But I want to try and be live until 6. But right now it's going up to 29. It wasn't even forecast for 29. What kind of madness is this? Break now and then, just cure my soul. She's no longer in pain. That's all you really can do. That is all you really can do. And be there for each other. Oh my god. We're gonna drink water because I think I'm burning up. Okay, I thought there was a bug in my room. We don't want that. I feel like I have a problem when it comes to games. When it's hot and the game looks like it's hot too, I think that makes things worse. Tell me why PALIA looks like it's really hot right now. I kind of wanted to go back to the nighttime. Kind of wanted to go back to the nighttime. It felt cooler. Oh my god. Well, we made it halfway through stream, if anything. We need to get a fan and a window. Bug net for your window, that will help. It's only today, though. Right? It's literally going to be cloudy and 18 tomorrow. Like, I don't... It's like, I don't want things that are just going to sit there all year round. Because the thing is as well, I don't have a place for a fan. I don't have somewhere for a fan to go. More and more... Really? Oh, I need to be careful not to talk to myself right now. Yeah, okay, so it says 22, 21, 22, 22, 21, 22. But it's like cloudy and then like a little bit of rain and then like... It's not terrible. That I don't mind. How many days did you not stream because of the hot weather? 3? I think. But I think I was already in a flare-up before that. I think my body was already not feeling good. So, like, then the weather made it worse. I was, like, struggling with my breathing and, like, my heart rate and stuff was kind of not great. So basically, when I was sat still, it felt like I had just run a marathon, even though I hadn't moved. Hello! Welcome in! Thank you for the raid. How's everyone doing? Hopefully it's not too hot by you. We were just saying how I'm really hot right now. I'm really burning up. I'm not gonna lie. And you came at the right time. Ads just played, so you guys shouldn't be getting ads. I hope you haven't got any ads. It was hot all last week for one day when it was a bit cloudy. Last week wasn't bad. I didn't really stream last week because of other stuff. It wasn't the heat that was the problem. We actually had quite a few rainy days last week, I think, if I remember right. I'm good and super hot. Are you from the UK or are you in America right now? Because I know that there are like a couple of... Thank you for the follow, I appreciate it. I know there are a couple of different places right now that are scorching, to say the least. Hopefully it's not terrible. It's currently 28, going up to 29 by me. I'm not a fan of heat. I'm not a fan of heat, but I'm also not a fan of not being able to find uncommon bugs. What is going on? We need one more. A snail or a centipede. Any of them will do. More silver though. I'll take it. Not here. It was really hot most days last week. I think it was like 25. Was it hotter than that where you were? Where you are? I think it was like 25 maybe. But I don't feel like it wasn't bad because I don't remember it being that bad. There was maybe one day where it wasn't bad. America is went to 95. Ooh, what? 96. What is that in Celsius? Hang on. Fahrenheit. Celsius. 35? No. Oh my god. Feels like 100 plus? That is insane. Oh my god. Please, please, if you need to go and like keep yourself cool and go eat or drink some water, please do. It was hot every day but one. I don't think it was terrible for me last week. I played a lot of Fortnite, so it can't have been. If I'm playing a lot of Fortnite, you want to bet that I'm not boiling hot in that moment because If it's that hot, I'm not playing Fortnite. And I love Fortnite. But if it's so hot that I can barely breathe, yeah, I'm not playing Fortnite. I give it to the pro players because there have been a lot of pro players playing Fortnite, like, tournaments right now. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't know how they do it. Sucks. I didn't get to stream long stay and had to abruptly end stream so I can stay for a bit before I'm hungry. Go! If you need to go and eat or drink or, like, cool down or anything, please do. I don't mind lurks. I don't mind if you need to run. I am not gonna judge. I won't. Please, please go look after yourself if you have to. I do appreciate you for being here though. I'm good though, thank you, Cream. Okay. If you insist. I won't push you away, but I do want you to look after yourself. I probably should get rid of the refer a friend code thing. I feel like most people that are in the stream now probably out there new. It's been a couple of weeks since the release of PlayStation, Xbox. I love your little push in your camera. I spent so long looking for the right thing to use. Because we have it on... We have the same thing on this and this. Oh, and here. I spent so long looking for something that worked. A dove, I love it. I originally was gonna go for like a frog theme because I have done that before. But I just like... I think the witchy vibes and the frog vibes, they both vibe very well together, so... Either one I'm happy with. I did originally have a, like a whole like overlay panels and everything that was actually bought. And then I get bored of things very quickly where if I do it myself, I can change it so much quicker and for free. So I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have bought that. Wish I had nameplate jelly and I agree. Oh, you don't have the nameplate thing? Oh, I only got this. I only got my nameplates really like in the last couple of months because I never put my house on the tour. We finished it. Oh my god. So I never really put my house on the tours or anything. I just put it on there now. People vote even though they don't care. I find it really quite funny. I draw my own stuff. Ooh, what kind of stuff do you draw? I'm curious. I'm really jealous though. I wish I was creative like that. My granddad was a painter, artist, painter, whatever you want to say. I'd say painter more than anything. He was so talented, and I wish I got that from him, but I didn't. It makes me mad every day. Pretty new to PALIA. How long have you been playing? I have a few nameplates and don't bother with them anymore because when you change outfit vanishes. I think they've changed it, Tony. I think they updated it so that doesn't happen anymore. I think they fixed it in the last patch. I could be wrong. It could still be broken. But pretty sure they changed it. My other is, and I'm working on some emotes. I'm not used to digital because I'm really... You're actually painting this on the iPad. It's different? Ooh. I'm probably a month or two. Oh my god. I wish that... I feel like digital art is something pretty much anyone can get into, but I feel like physical, like painting and things is so difficult. Just like learn. It must take so long. Which is why I wish I got that from him. I wish I got that gene. I feel like I'm creative, but just not in that way. It bugs me every time I think about it. Probably 2 months or so though. So have you been playing since the Elderwood update, I'm gonna assume? I think that was about how long ago that was. That's when I came back to streaming again. I find it so crazy that people are only just starting to play PALIA though. That's crazy. Like, I've been playing this game since the first alpha test pretty much. I feel like an older player. It can be, but I love it. And yeah, family, I loved art, but I really kept going with it. Yes. I wish I'd have gone into it at school or something. I am mad at myself for not. I have so many things I wish I'd have done when I was younger and I just didn't do. That's just one of the big regrets. Elderwood was already a thing when I joined. So you joined just after that update then. That's really interesting. I feel like the amount of new people that joined after that were even on PC as well. Like, are you on PC or console? Because the amount of people that joined after the update that weren't even console. It's very interesting. Like, I just don't think some people have heard of the game prior to it. But I've been following this game for the longest time. And when I say the longest time, I mean, I spent every second, anytime there was a notification, anytime I could do anything to do with the game, I was like, oh my god. Which is how I am now with Witchbrook. It is driving me insane. It is driving me insane. Like, I'm like the same with it, how I was with PALIA. Console, I have PC, but I prefer Xbox. Okay. Okay. Apparently it plays pretty well on console. Compared to Switch. Switch is apparently not good, but console apparently is. It still vanishes just like all the tool skins. Mine have been okay. I bought this skin this morning, and it didn't change my nameplate, and it didn't change my skins. I still got my froggy one on. You can't even see it, but there. My sister told me, and I was hooked. I was hooked from the minute I saw the first trailer at like the Game Awards or something, I think it was. Instantly was like, this is what I need. I needed this game so badly. Sorry about Witchbrook as well. I need to look into it. I'm obsessed. It has a release time, but not a release date yet. It is going to be around winter. So I would get it on your wish list if I was you. It looks so good. And in fact, I don't know if you can see it. Let me check. There's nothing on my home screen for anything. You can't really see it. Well, my home screen is Witchbrook. It's my desktop background, lock screen, phone background. And my Chrome background too. Outfit is so cute. I love it. I'm obsessed with sunflowers. This outfit is everything. Try changing your outfit. Okay. Hang on. Let me... I didn't mean to do that. Did not mean to do that. Okay, saved outfits. Let's just put this one on here so I don't lose it. Nope, wrong thing. I just forget what I'm doing. Okay. Let's see. No, it's still the same. I didn't lose the skins. I didn't lose the thing. Maybe your account's bugged. Which would suck. But I don't think it's my emotions for some reason. Yeah. I don't think it's like a universal thing. I think it's your account now. Because they definitely fixed it in the last patch because it hasn't been a problem since. So I don't know. I don't know, maybe it's just you. It isn't good. It's not good. It's actually that. You see what I mean about these tomatoes? Look at this. They literally make seeds so quickly. It's insane. Like, what do you mean? I can make seeds so quick. Like, hello? I don't want to make beans if I can make these. Oh my god, what did you say? The word buggered. I love it. My account bugged. Never, how can you say such a thing? It's always been... My account was way worse than some people's though. When I couldn't buy a new bag, nothing has frustrated me more than that. Other channel points so freaking curious. Easter. I love them. I am obsessed. I went on like a tangent for like 2 weeks prior to streaming on this account again because I only came back. When did I come back now? It was just before the Eldwars update, so only like 2 months ago. I came back to the game. Not back to the game. I came back to streaming and I spent like a good 2 weeks, honestly. I spent like a good 2 weeks trying to find emotes and badges and things that just looked what I wanted them to look like. It took me so long And then at like 1 a.m., which I don't stay up till 1 a.m. I'm not one of those people. But I stayed up till like 1 a.m. and I was on Etsy and I was scrolling for hours. And I found them. And I was obsessed. I was obsessed. Get rid of that. Okay. Nothing else I need to do, right? I don't think. My plot was totally bugged for months. Couldn't add anything even after moving 105 drivers. Can change wallpapers. Yikes. I mean, my plot... I'm saying this because it's not going to happen, PALIA, but my plot is fine. Always has been. I don't have anything wooden to touch right now. This is painted, but I'll touch it. I've never had a problem with it. I only had a problem with character stuff. So this, I bought the first bag. And then for some reason, it didn't count. So I didn't even have the first bag. And then I bought the second bag, but the first bag still didn't count. It took them 2 months to fix that bug. 2 months into release for me to have a full usable inventory. I stayed up till 1 a.m. streaming last night so I can stay the same. Oh. I have a sleep schedule. It took me 10 years or so to actually do. I never used to have one. It was terrible. I used to be very like bad with it. I used to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning and wake up at like 1 in the afternoon. It was really bad. I don't know how I did anything. Now I go to sleep at 11 at least, and I wake up at 7. I don't have anywhere to be, but I wake up at 7. So, geez, yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible. I'm not gonna lie. Let's go do the hunting one. I feel like that would be better to do. I even moved my entire plot around to another slot, and only when I had one harvest house left on the plot did it allow me to add things again. But the new plot bugged up. Oh my god. You guys get such bad luck with stuff like that. It's actually crazy because I've never really had... I feel like I've ever really had a problem like that. I had a problem with the chests when they brought the new chests out. That's it. But that was like a universal problem. I had a 3-day weekend, so I was okay playing late. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I do let myself stay up later on a Saturday. Sometimes I regret it though. But usually I stay up late so I can watch a Fortnite tournament. And then I'm sat there watching it at like midnight and I'm like, why did I choose a Fortnite tournament over my sleep? But honestly, sometimes it's worth it because I don't get to watch it very often because I don't watch the European stuff. I actually watch the North America tournaments. So I have to stay up a little late because they're usually on about midnight. Raz, hello! I will do your request. However, I'm going to be right back afterwards because too much of this causes a problem. I've drank a lot of water today. I woke up around 8:55, so didn't sleep in. That's okay though. That's still a reasonable time. So it's fair enough, right? It doesn't count. Hello, I hope your day is going well. I'm gonna take a couple of minutes, maybe only a minute or two. And I'll be right back. Because your girl gotta go to the toilet. I will be right back. I'm back. I kept my headset on and I could hear the music. But the funniest thing is, my headset only work. I say headset, headphones. They only catch some of the music or like audio on my PC if my head is like this for some reason. So I'm like sat on the toilet, like music's coming in and out of the mic, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's say a certain way because it was like messing with my head. I can hear like two words and nothing. Okay, we're back. It's a high water intake kind of day. Fair enough. It should be. Hello? It honestly should be though. Yes. Oh my god. Not you singing in the chat. Oh god. Is it actually getting hotter or am I just not vibing very well with the weather all of a sudden? This is how I felt when I didn't stream the other week, by the way. I felt very hot. To the point that I was burning up like I had a temperature. We'll be okay. We'll be okay for now. We'll see how things go. We'll see how things go. Oh. I'm so sorry if you heard that. I hit the springs on my mic arm. Okay. We are gonna go hunting a little bit. We're gonna go hunt a little bit. You see the weather getting hot, are you? I'm not too sure which one. Because it's still 28. It could be the there is a snail in front of me right now. Are you kidding me? We needed that like 10 minutes ago. What's the humidity right now? Is it getting hotter? Humidity. I don't know how to use that app. I use the Met Office one because the iPhone app annoys me like crazy. We're not even on high humidity right now. I don't know. Probably a plushie in disguise. I wish. We needed this guy. I needed him for the weeklies. So annoying. But yeah, the humidity is not even high, and yet I'm like struggling. There's another one! Okay, guys, we've established they spawn in the daytime. That's extremely annoying. But yeah, I feel like the humidity isn't even high right now. And yet, I am getting very hot. So. But I wanna do the stream. So we're not gonna end stream. Unless I feel like I'm gonna faint and then I'll obviously unstream. Because that would be ridiculous, right? I wouldn't do that to myself. That would be very bad. Don't do that. If you're listening to me right now, don't stream when you feel like you're gonna faint. Don't do it. But I will stream until I have to end. Which hopefully is around 6 o'clock. They spawn when you don't need them. They do. I think there's this thing in... I don't know if it's PALIA or Dreamlight Valley, but one of them... There's this like trick where if you can't find the thing you need, if you have it pinned as like a pinned quest, it will not show up. But if you do unpin it, it will show up everywhere. I think it's Dreamlight Valley though. Have you done a smaller quest in Nature Shadows? That's a good question. I'm gonna assume it's on this one. Nature Shadows. Yes. Yes, I have. Why? Why? Did I need to have done that for something? Oh, I was gonna say something. I don't know what it was. I've completely blanked. No, I completely blanked. What was it? I don't know if it was important or not. I don't remember. I don't remember. If I remember, I'll tell you guys. My memory is so bad. It's always worse when I stream. Power car, the rest with a white stone. Oh. I have no idea. I don't even remember doing the quest. I'm not gonna lie. We did them on stream. The minute they came out, it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute. The bureau has arrived so fast I can begin an investigation. Is that not just the white stone, like, brick thing? Do you not just get that from a... You don't just buy... Oh my god, my hair. I just noticed my hair. Do you not get that from a diary? Or is that something else? Probably wrong. I'm probably wrong, let's be real. That's the slab. Oh. I don't know. Does Raz know? Raz seems to know a lot. You need to speak to Tamala. There you go. There you go. I was like, Raz will probably know, right? I was relying on you guys to know things. She'll send you to get, yeah. See, he knows. I have no idea. Oh, it's bugging me that I don't remember what I was gonna say. I have no idea what it was. It's gonna frustrate me so much. Try to speak to, but still no recipe. Oh. Maybe it's booked again? You did say your account is heavily booked right now. Maybe that's just one to add. I really hope not. I really do hope not, but... Oh no. It's not looking good. You might have to look on the wiki. I'm not gonna lie. That might be a question to look up on the wiki. Honestly, the thing I usually do is check Discord and see if anyone else is complaining about it. See if anyone else is complaining about it. And then if there are people complaining, you know it's bugged. Whereas, like, if no one else said anything about it, maybe you've just not done the right thing. I tried the wiki too. Honestly, I think at this point, though, you can probably put a message into, like, the player support, and see if they reply, because they won't be too bad of a response time now. To be honest. The recipe itself is crafted in a work table. See, that sounds very complicated for no reason. Why are we crafting a recipe on the work table? Why? Surely you should have the recipe to use the work table, right? Not make it on the work table. This game is so confusing. I love this game, but it's so confusing. Okay, try them out. Hopefully it works. But what did I say? What did I say? If Raz doesn't know, Tony might know. That's my, like, thing. And then if you guys are here, but, like, Les or someone is, I'm always like, they'll know. I'll ask them. I heavily rely on you guys to know everything. But it's because every time I ask something, you know the answer. I know nothing. I know nothing. Nothing of importance anyway. It's just a bit scrum this week. You're all good. You're all good. Someone always knows something. Don't even worry about it. If I don't know the answer, which I usually don't, I just ask you guys. Between us, we know all the things, and if we don't, then we make something of it sounds convincing. Yeah. Yeah, it works though. It definitely works. Why not? Why not? You could just, you know, we can just do that for everything in life. It works eventually. For real, yeah. I do that with a lot of things. Anything I don't know, I'm just kind of like, I'll just guess. I did that a lot of my assignments for uni. And I'm dreading getting my result soon because I probably get it in the next couple of weeks. And it determines on whether or not I can do my last year of uni. And I'm kind of dreading it. But I did use that attitude of, I don't know what I'm supposed to write, so I'll guess. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it works. Pretty much most of the time it works. Oh no. Like, I'm not gonna lie. No matter what the game is, I will always guess what I'm doing in the game. I don't think I've ever truly played a game and known what to do in the game. I've just guessed my entire way through it. And a lot of the time, if you don't know what you're doing in a game, the best thing is to just pretend. Pretend you know what you're doing. And just play like that the whole time. Some of the games that I enjoy the most are the ones I don't know what I'm doing in them. I know some people don't like that though. Someone goes to ask me a question, the first thing I say is the word question. I always say 42. When they go question? I just read you about me and I paused as well. And you're talking about HEDS. I hope you're doing okay right now. Yeah, it's been a long journey for me to get the diagnosis. It took me like, I would say that the POTS stuff started when I was like 14, maybe a little bit earlier. Didn't know anything about it until like 3-4 years ago. And it took like 4 years to get the diagnosis. But the EDS one was just as bad. It was just as bad. PALIA just crashed on me. Funny. Oh my god. Do you need to like verify your files? I have a feeling that might be something you need to do. Feel like your game's bugging out way too much. Oh my god. No, I think PALIA's trying to make this. Do you have any other games that are gonna bug out on you though? Like, I think I don't play PALIA every day now, so like the game is nice to me. Like a lot. Because I just don't play enough for it to not be. Right? The game's like, she's only here 3 times a week. Yeah, loads. Maybe you should play one of those instead. Unless you really do just want to play PALIA and just keep opening it back up and just deal with all the bugs. Sometimes it's worth it. I could go back to WoW again. Oh my god. I played the free trial of WoW. I'm not gonna lie. I really liked it. I just didn't want to pay for it. If the game was free, I would still be playing it. My sister has spots as well. Really? So it kind of helped me because it is dramatic, but then it's been a journey as well, so I keep Sonia with sleep. So I do have the long journey that as well, but hoping to get answers by HEDS. It's such a long process with like chronic illnesses. It's ridiculous. Especially like within the UK. My cardiologist originally told me about POTS. I said, hey, I think I have POTS. Can you help me like get the diagnosis? Or, like, not help me get the diagnosis, but you know, like look into it to see if I have it, because I'm pretty damn sure I have it. This man turns around and says, I don't think you have POTS. Maybe just some kind of dysautonomia. Now, if you know what I'm talking about, yeah, I mean, POTS is a type of dysautonomia, so like, yeah, I do. But he put me on medication and was like, okay, well, I'll send you for a tilt table test anyway. So I went for a tilt table test, which is horrible. I don't recommend them. You don't need one, don't have one. He sent me for one, gave me this medication that helped, by the way, with all the POTS symptoms that I had. And the tilt table test didn't work. It didn't come back with any answers because apparently I just don't have POTS. Until 6 months later when he finally rang to do a follow-up and I was like crying, like, please send me for another one. I don't think they did it right. I know I have POTS. Had another tilt table test. I know I had 2. Awful. I was like this close to like actually like passing out fully. I got the diagnosis because the guy that did the test was like, okay, we're gonna sit you up because I'm worried. He was worried about me because of my heart rate, and my blood pressure was just like, not good. Moral of the story is, don't let anyone tell you something isn't wrong when you know there is. Because my heart rate right now is probably not even a problem. 4 minutes ago, my heart rate was 71. My watch is pretty accurate. Pretty accurate. I'm on 80 beats right now. 80 beats per minute is not terrible. It's not great either. My heart rate should be like 65, but it's hot. And I'm talking, right? And we're laughing a little bit. My heart rate right now would probably have been 120 3 years ago. So, medication helped, is all I'll say. My sister's best, she passes out and always passes out. Luckily, I haven't passed out. I've never passed out. I think I had a brief episode of passing out during my tilt table test. And the test was only like a couple of months ago now, I think. So, they basically said I had a brief moment of it. I think that just means I kind of like went and then came back instantly or something. But I went very hot and very burnt. Like I burnt up like so quick and felt so sick. That was what got the diagnosis, and I think it's one of the like most like controversial things that have ever happened to me. I'm very lucky that I actually don't pass out though. I actually cannot imagine how awful it must feel to pass out like every day. I'm very glad it's not me. My blood pressure bottoms are while her heart rate goes up. It's scary because when she's visiting, she felt... Oh, yeah. Mine does that, usually. Like, before the medication, my heart rate was obviously high, obviously. But then the, my blood pressure would be high. And now I'm on this medication and my blood pressure goes the opposite way. I used to have problems with, like, pressure in my head being so bad when my blood pressure was so high. Now it just goes low. I'm laid in bed, I'm chilling, I'm fine. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm gonna go. I'm like, is this gonna be the day? Is this gonna be the day where I actually pass out? But apparently I just do things so quick that it never happens. So. My heart rate is 102 and I'm just sitting on something. Oh, and you're just sitting down? Ugh. Yikes. I'm lucky that I got medication when I did. But the medication I'm on is so complicated. When I tell people like, hey, I'm on heart failure medication. They're like, oh god, what's wrong with you? Like, nothing. I gotta stand up without my heart rate thinking I'm like dying or something. But yeah, I'm not on a beta blocker. Weirdly. So it's very funny when I tell people. Yeah, literally, it's like the weirdest thing to be like, hey, I'm on a medication for heart failure, angina. What? I have high blood pressure issues, take 4 tablets to keep it down. My dad has low blood pressure and keeps passing out, and they put a pacemaker in to control it. My god. But guys, we're all terrible. I feel for everyone. I've had it both ways. Not fun. It's really not. Especially with like hot weather too. Like, oh god. Honestly, like the thing is though, at least with POTS I know what to do to help. I think if I just had like a blood pressure problem, it'd be difficult. It would be kind of difficult. I just survive on salt, water, and sugar. Although the funniest thing is, before I was even diagnosed, I actually had a love. Oh, we finished too. I had a love for salt way before the symptoms even showed. As a kid, I'd be like, oh, I love salt. I would literally be like coating my food in salt. And most people would tell you that's bad. However, if I don't eat enough salt, it won't be good. It won't be good, right? So I have to eat a lot of salt. It's kind of controversial how all those years people were saying to me like, oh, you shouldn't have that much salt. It's bad for you. I'm like, no. No, it's not. I could have wanted a beta blocker, but a medication for my sleep kind of makes my heart rate worse. And I can only lower the dose because I have it. Stay awake. I legally can't drive unmedicated. Wow, that sounds very complicated. I couldn't go on... What was it? I basically had this problem where, like, I have blood pooling in my feet and my hands, like, when I'm really bad. And it was, like... I've been told that it could be, like, Raynaud's, but, like, a secondary thing. So it's, like, caused from my POTS making my blood pool. But it causes Raynaud's to happen. And they were like, oh, there's this medication you can have. And I'm like, cool. It might help my circulation. It might help the POTS. I can't have it because of my blood pressure. So I understand like the complication of like everything interacting with each other. It's very, very annoying. Literally love salt. You would think after eating and drinking like salt water and stuff like that, like all the time, having electrolytes all the time, would put you off salt. But I crave it because of the problem with POTS. Like I just crave salt. All the time. I'm like constantly craving salt. I'd start in 3 minutes. God, me to my blood pooling for my POTS is so bad. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I go to the toilet, especially in the winter. I look at my feet while you're sat like I'm just trying to go to the toilet, right? My feet are purple. I look like it's freaky. I don't like it. I was told by my doctor too much salt isn't good for my heart, my high blood pressure, but too little isn't good either. I have to find a balance. Yeah, with POTS, if you don't eat salt, you're probably not going to function. The only real treatment option for POTS is quite literally electrolytes, salt, water, that's it. They kind of just pass you off as like, just drink some more water, you'll be fine. But you need salt, water, and sugar, I'm pretty sure it is, all together for it to really be effective. And I didn't know that. I thought if I needed to, I could just have some salt or just have some water. No one actually told me I needed them all in one for it to really be effective. I don't know what the reasoning is, but it's something like it doesn't do what it should do without all three. So it's kind of like I need electrolytes, basically. I have to buy the expensive electrolyte packets. And they are so expensive. They're like £15 at Sainsbury's, which is where I go shopping. And like, it's the cheapest I get. It's the cheapest I can get. I think they're £9 when they're on offer. Actually ridiculous. But I need it to survive. It's expensive, but it's vital. And after the shower, Lord, the rash is not... Honestly, is the rash just like a pooling thing? Because it is terrible. It is... I go so red after the shower. It's insane. All the blood in my feet. I literally look... I look crazy. I look crazy after a shower. I hate having a shower. They are so much. They cost so much. They're so expensive. They cost so much. Salt can dehydrate you, and it's also, I guess, it's the water rehydrate you. Yes. So you need the salt because your basically like sodium and stuff like is very low. Like electrolyte imbalance is just like one of the key things of POTS that happens, and then you need more water to help with that. So you need to eat more salt, but because you eat more salt, you have to drink more water, otherwise kidney stones. But the sugar, I don't know what the reason is. There's something to do with like with POTS where if you just drink salt and if you drink water and eat salt, it might be okay. But the sugar bit also really helps with it too. Like all 3 in 1 is the best thing. So like I fill this up 2 to 4 times a day. Like I drink like 3 to 4 liters, and this is 1.2. I fill that up with water and I put like a quarter of an electrolyte packet in. And I do that all throughout the day. I have felt the best I've ever felt by doing that. He makes it easier for the blood to fall. Oh, I always had this after shower and never knew until my POTS. Yes. Imagine going black. That is the worst one. That happens when I get out of bed first thing in the morning. Terrible. Terrible. But yeah, I had a problem in school when I was literally a teenager. And like, we're talking half of my lifetime. Where I used to get in the shower in the morning and my feet would sting. My feet would sting because they were so cold and the water was warm. It wasn't too hot, but it was warm. And so they would sting, they would burn. And I didn't know why. I've been back and forth to the doctors for like, what, 10 years now? 15 years probably, actually. And now I know that it's to do with my POTS. That I've been told by like 10 people I don't have. But I do have. So like, I knew about this years ago. And no one cared to tell me about it. To talk to me about kidney stones I went through a few weeks. Oh, I don't wish that on anyone. I'm glad I've never had to experience that. But like, I have to be very careful about avoiding them. Because like, obviously I think I put salt on everything, just for reference. So I have 1 electrolyte packet a day. But then I also have... Hello? Thank you for the subscription. I appreciate it. Oh, you get to enjoy the badges and the little emotes now too. Sorry, I didn't want to watch. Oh my god. Don't say sorry. We don't like the ads. We don't like the ads. We despise the ads. Wanted to chat? Well, welcome. I appreciate the sub. Thank you so much. But yeah, if we don't drink enough water with the salt, it will cause kidney stone. Like, it will. I put salt on fruit. I put salt on what? I put salt on fruit, in coffee, in water if I need to. I went to a physio appointment the other day and I felt very faint. She was like, you want some water? I was like, yeah, sure, but I need salt. And my mum was like, I have a salt packet. She just carried them around with her and didn't even realize for some reason. She was just like, oh, I should probably carry this around in case she needs it. She pulls a little salt packet from like McDonald's or something out of her pocket. And then the physio went to go get me a thing of water and I just drank it. It's horrible. It is horrible. I had surgery this January. I have kidney stones genetically, so sadly I'm just screwed. Oh my god. You asked? That is awful. Oh my god. I can't imagine that. Being told you need salt to literally survive. But then you've got this like... Yo, that's such a predicament. God, I'm so sorry you have that. Oh my god. So for Christmas, we can buy you a salt block to munch on. You know what? I would probably love that. I would probably love that. I'm not gonna lie. I would sit here with a brick of salt and just chew on that. You know, like people do with ice. Don't even. I would actually eat that. As a kid, I used to eat the remaining salt off the plate, which I do now because it makes sense for me to do now. But as a kid, I was like, you would look back and be like, oh, that's disgusting. But I'd literally sit there with my finger and just like, I'm eating all the salt off the plate because I needed it. Didn't know why I needed it, but I did. I'm 19. You're 19. Had 4 kidney stones. 3 still in my kidney at the moment. The other I had surgery for. That is awful. You're so young. You're so young. Oh my god. Wow. I didn't know about any of the problems I have now at your age. So I cannot imagine going through that. Oh my god. My dad went into hospital to have his pacemaker fitted and contracted COVID, passed it on to me when he visited, and it was a recurring kidney infection and caused the stone. Also had a chest infection and temperature of 100. Oh my god. That's awful. You guys, I'm thinking about you all. Oh my god. Literally did the same. Genetics sucked buns. I mean, I have definitely got like at least 1, if not 2 genetic conditions for my mum. So we just like go through together and deal with it. But I think a lot of them are connected. Like, it is quite funny how a lot of people will actually say like, hey, yeah, this condition isn't connected at all. And I'm like, it is though. The amount of doctors I've actually educated on things is so funny. I leave appointments a lot of the time to a doctor being like, oh, you've educated me today. And I'm like, that's really odd. Why am I going to an appointment and a doctor is saying, hey, thanks for educating me on the topic that I didn't know. I'm a history student. I'm not a med student. So it's kind of funny, actually. Oh, missed that one. I didn't even need this. I just thought I'd do it while I'm here. Okay. So we're gonna go home. Oh, I haven't done any hot pot. I just realized. We've missed 2 lots of hot pot. Now I want to cry. I carried for my mum. She got her first kid at 17. She has pot symptoms the same with the EDS and sleep disorder. She just want to go to the doctor. I don't blame her for not going, though. I don't. I have an appointment tomorrow at the doctor's, but I was reluctant to make it because I've had the same problem going on for so long that I'm just almost like about to give up on it. But I know I need to get it sorted, but it's just, I don't want to go to the doctor. Who does, you know? Who would want to? I don't. I don't find it fun. And not that anyone would find it fun, but I genuinely, it's like torture to me to go to the doctor to be like, hey, please help. Because they're like, no. Okay. May start changing your doctors for your medical service. I cannot change where I go to the doctors because it wouldn't work. Unfortunately, when you're chronically ill, if you change to different doctors, which is almost impossible these days anyway, they wouldn't know anything. Which would basically be a problem for trying to get anywhere with anything. And I need to have a doctor's like ASAP. If I need to go, I need to go. Like, that's the problem with it. It's very difficult to be like, ah, just change. I wish I could. I wish I could change. But she has my brother to take care of, so she usually doesn't have the time. The cost I have is so much medical bills. That, oh my god. Where did you already say where you were from? I'm sorry if you did. I get lost. I just completely don't even like... Yeah, America. Oh my god. Yeah, the US, yeah, I just checked. Yeah. Oh my god. No. I honestly just wouldn't even... I wouldn't be able to function over there. No matter what. It would be... like, it would be so hard to like... because like, it's bad enough over in the UK. Like, our wait times are insane for things. But like, to wait so long and then have to pay so much, it's insane to me. It's insane. Chest infection, kidney infection, I have to take the dog out in the morning and Kevin wasn't a fun few weeks for that's for sure. I can imagine it wasn't. I can imagine it wasn't. Hopefully, like, in the health-wise, you're feeling a lot better now. Charge, not change. Or charge. My bad. Oh, yeah, I get what you said now. I'm sorry. I read really quick and then I don't read properly. My bad, my bad. But maybe I should. Honestly, I've had like 4 or 5 doctors be like, oh, you've taught me something today that I didn't know. And I'm like, really? Because that's a bit concerning. All I do is read online. Why do I know more? Why do I know more than you? That concerns me personally, that I'm going to a doctor and they don't know what I'm telling them until I've told them. I know they don't know everything and I'm not expecting a doctor to know everything. It's not like possible for them to know every single thing. But oh my god. It's when things are apparently seen as well as being uncommon and rare when everyone I know, not everyone I know, but like every like person my age like has this problem or there's a big connection to it, like loads of people actually do have it, you just aren't diagnosing it. It just feels a little bit weird to me. Smart goes to the doctors call what they do practice. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. I call myself a professional streamer. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not a professional streamer. I never will be. Even if I was a professional streamer, I don't think we could call myself a professional streamer. You know? It'd have to be like a little joke. The US is dumb. Oh, don't. The fact that I don't even live there, and yeah, I despise so much of like the medical and everything. It's like insane. Is it actually true? I just want to ask one thing, if you know. Is it true you literally have to pay to hold your baby after you give birth? Over there? As a part of like the extra part of the medical bills? That they charge you for that? Because if that's not true, then okay, thank God. But oh, when I heard that, I don't know if it was made up or what. Plus, it's considered common here, especially in women. It's considered common. When I asked about it and said I think I have it, like I'm pretty 100% sure that I have it, they were like, it's very rare. I don't think you have that. And I'm like, I think I do. And they're like, no, I don't think you do. But you guys are definitely one step ahead of us in terms of medical. Even though like the medical bills and stuff is insane, you definitely are like, we follow after you. If you find a new diagnosis or something, we then take it ourselves and then go from there. We don't know about it until you guys do. Wish we were so we didn't have to work. Chronic illness life is hard. Chronic illness life sucks. Honestly. First thing doctors that say they don't know because they look deep into what's wrong. It's those arrogant doctors that know everything that work. That worry me. I think it's the doctors that think they know everything. Not that do know everything, because they never do know everything. I had a gynecologist tell me there was no possible way I have endometriosis because there's no way that a girl as young as I was when I started my symptoms could have endometriosis. But there is a girl recorded half the age I was when I started my symptoms that had endometriosis. And I had a cardiologist tell me there's no possible way I have POTS when I do. The list goes on. The list goes on. And I haven't given birth, but it's upwards of 20,000. In what world? How is this 2025? Oh my god. Because of the rumor materials? That's just insane. If you had COVID, it's extremely easy to then have POTS. It is a big trigger. Yeah, I didn't actually get COVID until after I was even started with symptoms. I have this theory that I did have my symptoms when I was like in school once. The first time anything happened was when I was in maths, in my maths class, and I started to feel very dizzy and very funny and like felt like I was going to pass out, but I never did. And we went to the doctors and just sort of like said, hey, like, what happened? And he was like, oh, I think you nearly fainted. I was like, cool. That was like 10 years ago. And then I unfortunately ended up having way worse symptoms after my COVID jab. And I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. But they do actually worsen POTS symptoms, so I actually can't have them anymore. It hurts because I had like the first like couple of them, and then my symptoms just got worse. So I think it was already there, but it made it worse for me. I think that's what happened. It's called giving birth, but they expect you to pay for it. It's insane, right? Like, it's my body, it's my baby. Like, what do you mean? Like, I get maybe like if healthcare costs in that country, like I can understand paying for like the time of the people and stuff that are helping you in that. That kind of makes sense to me. Like, if it's not, you know, free healthcare, like I get it, but $20,000 even $20,000 to give birth to your child, insane. I had surgery, right? 10,000 for insurance, but I still have to pay 700. Honestly, like insurance systems sometimes too, they can deny. Also, you have to meet a deposit before insurance will cover stuff. That sounds insane to me. That sounds insane. Like, I struggle to, like, understand the like, thing of that. The logic. That's it. That's what I'm thinking of. The logic of it. Medical bills will always, like, drive me insane to think about. That's insane. Like, you have insurance to help you pay for things, but then they're just like, yeah, you have to, like, give us money before we'll actually help you with the money, even though you don't have the money to pay for it. Oh, that would frustrate me so much. I have to pay to live, God forbid I get hurt bad. They save my life. Now I'm in debt for, like... No, because that's insane to think. That is just insane. Honestly shocks me every time I hear about it. Like, I say that, you know, like, we're lucky to have what we have in terms of medical over here, but, like, at the same time, it's a mess. It is definitely a mess. Gladly, I don't have to pay for my healthcare, but technically, like, you know, taxes pay for the healthcare and stuff, so it's never seen as free. But I'm glad I don't have to pay £20,000 to give birth. Because that would be insane. That sounds made up. It's just must depend on where we are a big joke. Oh, I don't know. I follow a lot of stuff. I'm chronically online. I know pretty much everything going on in the world. It's because medical questions in some countries is run by insurance companies for a profit business. Something about big pharma, right? The big pharma company and stuff. It's like, oh, if you do this, then you get more money for it. So, like, I will help you with it. I'll make it worse, and then you'll come back to me and ask for help again. Giving birth costs too much, the birth rate will drop. When the country will be screwed because the population will be reduced, so the government will lose people to tax. See? So you get it. This is why it's insane. They don't think about these things. Madness. The world has gone crazy at this point. Uh-oh. I'm getting hungry. I'm getting hungry. This isn't good. Oh, amethyst. Ooh. Yeah, this isn't good. Guys. We haven't even played Hot Pot today. And yet here I am. Oh god. Here I am getting hungry. Not good. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to stand up to, like, cook food. And I was going to make, like, sweet potato, mashed potato, right? I don't think I don't know if I have it in me to do that. Also, like, eating hot food in this weather is kind of yucky, but we'll see. Most people are having kids now because it costs too much and the economy is buns. I mean, the, what was it? Was it China that had that one-child policy? That, to me, I learned that in school. That, like, can you imagine at, like, 12-year-old you learn about something like that and you're like, wait, what? Especially when you're not an only child, like, it sounds insane. One child per family. What? Nearly time to eat, yes. I was thinking, like, sweet potato, mashed potato, fish-less fingers. I don't eat meat and fish at home, really. I usually eat vegan and vegetarian food, but I'm not vegan or vegetarian. So, like, vegan fish fingers, basically. Oh my god. I need a different mic stand. This is not good. I keep, like, killing you guys' ears. But yeah. And then, like, edamame, because it has protein. It has protein. And I love edamame. You're supposed to have one person work and live, and now it's hard to live off two people's income. I was thinking about that the other day, about how difficult it must be having, like, a family and also trying to, like, provide, like, a two-people household income, but with a family. Like, that sounds almost impossible to me. Like, to live and like save on your own is impossible. But then to also like provide for a family just sounds insane, even with 2 people's income. Some countries realize this and are now giving married couples incentives to have children. Really? What kind of an incentive? What? That's just weird. And then that's insane, it's still a thing. China is suffering for that policy now, not through population decline, but also in variety between male and female populations quite wide. Really, is it? I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. Did people abandon girls because they wanted a male? Yes, I knew about that bit. A lot of them wanted males because then they can carry on the family. Like, that's wild. Financial help. Oh, yeah. That's crazy though. If you need an incentive to have a kid to like have financial help, then that you shouldn't be having a kid. Like, I'm sorry, but no. That is crazy. That is crazy. Like, oh, we have children, we can have more money. That's a human. Like, that's a human. What do you mean? I don't think you could pay me to like do that. I think you could be like, I'll give you money if you have a kid. I don't know about that one. That sounds crazy. Oh, I want to check something. I don't know if they'll even be... how they get. Okay. Wish the world was less greedy and hateful. We're gonna die anyway. Like, what? Literally, I feel like... that's just like how I look at it. It's like, can we not... I find it insane. Like, I've said this before, we've had this conversation before. I find it insane that, like, money works the way it does. Why is money even a thing? Right? Back in, like, times when we had, like, the shoesmith guy and the blacksmith guy and, like, this person did this and this person did that. And it was, like, it made more sense. Now, you know? It's like we have millions of people in the same profession. It's so different now than it used to be. Well, people just have babies for money and not actually care about them. Exactly. Like, I cannot wrap my head around that. You have a population having children, you have to try something. But like, the problem is the reason why these people aren't having children is because of the money problem. But then you're supplying them with money to have children so that then they don't care about those children. They only care about the money that you're giving them for the children. So in the end, the children end up not wanting to have children of their own because, you know, the situation just repeats itself. That is such a contradictive thing. It's insane. Over here, people who pop a million out are none. Oh my god. I have seen quite a big amount of families with like a lot of children. I don't know how they do that. That sounds like very overstimulating to me. Like, I don't think I could handle that many children. How do some people have like 10? How are you having like a 10-person family? That is... 2 is fine, no more than that. Yeah. Like, I think if I was to have kids, I don't think it'd be more than 2. I'd follow my mum's footsteps. No more than 2. 2 is fine. Any more than 2, that is insanity. 9 siblings, 6 a step, but still. Oh my god. Jeez. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot. Love, unprotected. you're just throwing out there, right? Just throwing out there. I love that. I just think it's a lot. That is a lot. How many more of these do we need to do? We only have like 30 minutes left. Okay, we'll keep doing the pallium for a little bit. You guys. Also an educational life expectancy thing. The higher the education rate, the better healthcare in the country with, less likely a couple will have lots of children. Yeah. Yeah, I get that too. That is a good point. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people are deciding not to start families these days. I think it's my generation that they're kind of like, no. I'd rather enjoy life as a solo or like just me and my partner and like that's it. And I'm like, I get it. I get it. I get it from both perspectives. Wait, which way does this go? I want to go back to the stable. Yeah. Right way. We found a pile. Not like we need it though. I don't even need these anymore. I forgot. Raz gave me the last one. My mom technically has 4 including me, but still 4 is more than enough. We had 5 or 6 kids in the house when I was... That sounds so chaotic. That actually sounds crazy. It's bad enough me and my brother. I think we were chaotic enough. Oh, if anyone needs ancient machine, #1, I have it. I have it. Honestly, if I have any of them that anyone needs anymore, just like, you can have it. I don't need it. At least I don't think I do. Maybe we will need them. I don't know. Maybe there'll be something else we need them for. I doubt it, but maybe. That could be. Okay, we are not due a thunderstorm, right? We are not due a thunderstorm. Because if we are, that would explain why I may be getting a headache. I hope not. It would never do it again. I just live with my 2 older siblings and a baby brother. He is only 8. Oh, he's only 8. He's my baby. Oh. Later in your life and your pension will probably shrink because there won't be enough people to work and pay taxes to the pensions. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that. That's insane to think of. Oh my god. The world doesn't make much sense these days. I feel like we're living in a dystopian world. Definitely. Hello! Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Yeah, I feel like I'm living in a dystopian world right now. I was 6 step, 1/2, and then me and my sister have the same parents. How's stream going? Stream's going good. We're almost towards the end though. Sad. Sadly, but I'm very hungry. I'm very hungry and I'm sort of potentially getting a headache. But streaming itself has been great. Technically 10 of us including me. Wow. That's a lot of people. That is a lot of people. The world is weird. I feel like I put myself into... I do this thing a lot where I'm kind of like... I always look at the world as if I'm in a simulation. Because it just feels so weird to me. Like, nothing really makes sense. And I always put myself in a situation where I'm like, yeah, this is definitely a simulation. Someone is messing with me right now. I'm currently cooking some edible plants. Ooh, that my boyfriend found his wood yesterday. Oh. I would say what plants are they, but like I don't have a clue about plants, so I probably wouldn't even know what they were. But hopefully they're good. Hopefully they're good. I bet my stepdad, thank god he can't have more because I would... I feel like he would. Oh my god. World would be pretty boring if it was normal. The world would be pretty boring if it was normal. That is a good point. That is a good point. But I have always felt that like this since I was a kid. That honestly, I kind of blame Sims actually. I played The Sims when I was very young, so I think like that might be why I look at it this way, but I've always looked at the world like The Sims, where someone is definitely controlling my character right now and just laughing at me and like... I feel like they're gonna trap me in a pool. Take away the ladder and like, yeah, if you know, you know. I feel like that could happen any moment. So like, I don't know. I feel like I've always been like that. Like, I started playing The Sims when I was like... probably like a good 8 years old, maybe. So. Dandelion. Oh, dandelion. I know what that is. At least I know what that is. Very good digestive in. It's good for soup. It's healthy. It's got sweet herby flavor. Ooh. Must see dandelions as weed and toss them away. Yes. I did hear about... I don't know where I heard that. I watch a lot of period dramas, like period TV shows and stuff, so maybe it was through that. But I'm also a history student, so maybe I heard it through my my module readings, but I did know about that. Very interesting. Like a lot of things in the world these days, people just like don't have a clue. Me being included. You know, we have no idea about these things. A lot of people don't, at least. My luck, I'm definitely being laughed at. Yeah. Same. I think maybe our characters are being played by the same person. 2 different households. I do feel like that way all the time, though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very much like... someone is definitely playing a simulation, I'm the character. You can't convince me otherwise. It just feels too... it makes too much sense. It makes too much sense. If suddenly all the doors and windows vanish from a room, then yep, you are in a simulation. It's when you're in a pool and the stairs disappear and there's no way to get out because for some reason I can't jump out of the pool or anything. Then I panic. Yeah. Or maybe I get trapped in a room with like 100 babies for some reason. And you won't let me out. Yeah. We live far away from all the city, so we built our own cabin home. Over the years to give us a survive off when we're apocalypse prep. Oh, that sounds so cool. That sounds so cool. Obviously, I'm assuming that you're a gamer if you're in my stream. I don't know if you've heard of the game Out and About. It's a foraging game to do with like all that kind of stuff. I wonder if you'd find that interesting or not. It's not out just yet, I don't think. I think it should be out soon. It should be out soon. Managing the world's top games. Imagine. Okay, what do we have left to do? Gold Rush. Okay, we need to go... okay, we can't do that yet. We need to go to Pillamore, I think. Or Bahari. Either one. Maybe we go to Bahari because we haven't found any gold yet. But we have found silver. So maybe the game will provide us. Maybe the game will provide us with some gold. Or is it? No. We have boxes full of supplies and medical plants. And it was supplies my boyfriend served up when he was a city boy. That's crazy though. He was a city boy and then he moved over there into like the wild. That's so cool. That is so cool. Have you done all the quests? I have pretty much done all my quests. Yes. The only quests I have available are, well, you can't see it because of the camera. This one, which is not really a quest. It's just like an item I need to make. This is my like side quests, which aren't that important. They're just like delivery quests and things. So the only quest I really have is the pet. What's it called? What's it called? The courier pet. I have half of it because I bought the founders pack, but I will get the other half when I do the quest. I just haven't done it yet. But I've done pretty much all the quests. So I don't really need to do quests right now. However, I still have lots to do. Well, I am planning on making a second account. So maybe I am going to have a hell of a lot of quests to do. I'm going to have a hell of a lot to do. All from the beginning again. I eventually fell in love with him. He told me stuff that I have no idea of. He showed me how to stay positive through living off the land. That's so sweet. I love that. I love that. You guys just like ran away to like the woods together or something. That's so cute. That's like a perfect little love story. I love it. I love that for you guys. We need gold. We don't need iron. We need gold. That sounds so romantic. It does, doesn't it? I love that. I'm all for like a meet cute or like a really like cute story of how people meet. It's like, ugh. I love it. I love when you guys come in here and say these things too. I'm like, you decided to come and tell me? Me? Love it. I collected rainwater recently so we can heat up for showers and drinking water. That's so cool. You guys are so cool. I wish I was that cool. It's kind of like you've sort of like gone back in time in a good way. Just like living off the land. I say it's cool. I don't think I'd be able to do it personally with like... In my situation, I don't think it would work very well, but it's extremely cool. And like very grounding too. The way my boyfriend and I are so basically we are talking engagement at the moment, so I'm so excited. Oh my god. You gotta let me know. You gotta let me know if you do. Be so excited for you guys. In case we don't get rain, we have a luxury filtration pump so we can drink lake water. Oh my god. It sounds so interesting. It sounds so interesting. If you don't mind me asking, like, whereabouts are you in the world? Yeah, fancy. It's like fancy, but also like innovative as well. I love it. You guys are also interesting. I love hearing like stories about other people's lives and things. It's like in one hand I'm like, yeah, I'm living in a simulation, right? And then you guys come here and say these things. I'm like, whoa. Okay, maybe you guys have DLCs that I don't know about. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I need a new DLC. Maybe that's what I'm missing. That's what my boyfriend designed. He has a degree in civil engineering. Such like a badass thing. I love it. Oh my god. I feel like this is one of the things they make like films about. Like the stories they make films about. So cool. She's the right person to read. Your vibe is so great. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. But also don't forget, I am ending soon, but don't feel like you need to stick around till the end. Please. Please go and get some water or some food or anything. Just to download the Monotech DLC. It's really expensive subscriptions. You're so quick with it, Raz. I love it. I'll make sure not to do that. I'll make sure not to do that. Also, I won't download the chronic illness one. I heard that one's got a few bugs. A few bugs in it. Honestly, I think I might just start living like this. Just talk like my life is literally a game. I'm gonna unsubscribe from that thing. I don't think I need it anymore. I'm going to stay. I got food when you were on the VIP screen. Oh, thank God. Thank God. I was like, oh my God, you've been here so long. So we plan to head out together and find more edible plants, fruits, berries, etc. and then collect more water by the lake. That sounds so nice. That sounds so nice. It's so peaceful. Whereabouts did you say you are? I don't know if you said it. I might have missed it. I may have missed it. Don't feel like pressure to tell me or anything if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Just like, are you in America or something, I'm gonna assume? I usually just assume a lot of people are American. Might be a bit ignorant of me, but, you know, a lot of people come to the stream and they're like, oh yeah, I'm American. It's like 20 degrees hotter over here than it is where you are. That's usually what happens. I always assume now. Ooh, it's about to go to 6 p.m. I think we end the stream with some hot pot. I think we do. And I don't know if Malpies is going to be live today, but she just got PALIA partner, so I would like to go raid in there if she is. So we may be going to say hi to her after the stream. We live way out in the deep forest, not glorious United States. Oh my god. Okay, I did think maybe you were. I got all the UK people surprisingly, like I have more of us, but more the US, but more UK that talk. Yeah, a lot of my why did we come back home instead of a lot of my like statistics on a lot of socials say like a lot of the US, but there's like slightly bit less for UK people, and then there's like these wild some places I've never even heard of, and I have like 6 years from there. I'm like, where are you guys? Because I don't even know where that is. So cool. The rolling eyes is real, yeah. The glorious, definitely. Okay, let's go do some hot pot. Oh, my water tastes a little bit like those really cheap ice pops. I have like a liquid IV packet. I think it's the passion fruit one, and then I have some like lime dilute juice in there. It tastes like a really like cheap ice pop. Oh, that would be so good right now as well, and I don't have any. That makes me want to cry. The Land of Debt. Oh god. These locations you've never heard of are also DLC. That's why I've never heard of it. See, Raz, you know everything. That's why we vowed to each other to live away from civilization cities, because I'm gonna be honest, the way hunts are going, we might as well be third world soon. Yeah. Honestly, like, yeah, I'm there for it. I think, honestly, what you've done is, like, it's super, super cool. I would much rather, like, live out in the, like, wilderness than live in the cities over there. That's for sure. Ooh. I like that. I buy. I buy. Okay. What's that? Oh, it's a fan! See? Tony, I bought one. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. We're gonna go to a table. I don't like these tables. They annoy me like crazy. I hate them. So I might come over here and see if anyone wants to join. I'm still bringing this game, but I can't afford to buy cute furniture yet. I did a glitch that everyone else was doing. It wasn't just me. And it was for a glitch. It was around about the time when Elderwoods came out, and loads of people, including myself, made so much money. I have never made $1 million on my own. And now I'm trying to get back up there because I spent a bunch of it because I felt like a lot of the game is making money, and not having space to make more money made me sad. So I like bought a bunch of stuff. Never did any like money glitches again since. And I enjoy it so much more. So I think not having too much money is good. I think having a little bit is good. I think having like maybe half of the gold cap is like the fun bit. I think anything less than that is a little bit, it's a little bit sad. But having just a little bit of money is best, I think. But you will make it soon. If you've not been playing too long, you'll definitely make it eventually. I got one of those fans. It's pretty. It's part of my oh my god. We are slowly destroying our world, and unfortunately we have reused to our ways being friendly. Yes, I agree. I feel like the world is, I was saying this a minute ago, like it feels very dystopian. I feel like we live in such an odd, it's such an odd feeling. Like I always feel like I am in a simulation. Like everything feels very out of place. I didn't know about it till the glitch was fixed. Yes, it was insane. You could make $1 million in like an hour. I'm not even kidding. I think it was like an hour I made $1 million in. We did it for like 3 streams straight, even though I never planned to do it. It just happened. It just happened. I'm kind of ashamed of myself. In case you're wondering how we have Wi-Fi with boyfriend's side an antenna by using reflective mirrors to bounce radio waves from the city. You guys are the coolest. What? That is so cool. Oh my god. Tell your boyfriend I said he's really, really cool because you guys seem like this kind of like power couple. Crazy. You've actually blown my mind with everything you've said to do. I no words. No words. It's actually so cool. These are like things I do in games but never do in real life. I jump at a fly and you guys are out here like making everything from scratch. It makes me feel ashamed. Oh my god. Sky isn't even that blue. There's clouds in the sky. Why am I this hot? Oh my god. I'm burning up. It's not even... It never got to 29, guys. It stayed at 28. It never got to 29. That's good. Just fires in there. Bad weather is a problem. But having power is honestly not that big of a concern. I think if that's your thing though as well, like, if you're not even that concerned about it, that just shows like... That shows like you've got each other. And that's like... That's the best thing of it. I'm difficult with things like that. I'm like, oh, I would love to live in like a cottage in the middle of nowhere with like a farm. How would I do that? You know, and I respect people like you that have that mindset because I struggle with that concept a lot. I think it's super cool. And I think it would be very refreshing as well, but I just don't know if I'd be able to do it. I think it's time to do a rain dance. Rain. Please come back. Please come back today. I just want it to cool down. I think when it rains in the UK, the weather cools so quickly. It's insane. Just over 30 in my room. It's probably 30 in my room too. It's probably 30 if not more. With my PC on right now. It doesn't feel very hot though. Let's see what my graphics card's at. 47, that's not terrible. It's when it gets into the 50s and 60s the PC actually becomes hot to touch. That's when we start to worry a little bit. Let's use the mirrors of solar power to heat, cook, and do laundry. That is so cool though. Like I was saying the other day, like, oh, why don't we have like something we can just spray on clothes that makes them clean? And you're over here like, we have mirrors that help us do laundry to like reflect stuff like... I have been consumed. I'm not an what is it called? Overconsumption. I'm not exactly that kind of a person, but I am also on the wrong side of everything. I feel like I need to take a step back and rethink everything I do. It's 86 Fahrenheit here, which is 30 Celsius. Looked up here. Oh, 30. I don't think I could deal with it. I think if it got to 30, I would probably be... I'd probably actually faint. I haven't had that bad temperature to the extent that I've genuinely felt extremely sick or anything since being diagnosed with hot. This is the first summer I've ever been diagnosed and it's not fun. Not fun. It's a little scary, I'm not gonna lie. I am just coping right now. I think if it went up to 30, it would be dreadful. I have my windows open. Man, I ain't gonna lie. If I had my windows open, it wouldn't be any cooler. It's that hot out there that all of the hot air would just come through the window. Right? And then when I close my window, it would just it'd be full of hot air. Right? Like, I don't think it'd make much of a difference. A fan might, but I still don't think it would. Position the mirrors using common sense of direction according to the sun to reflect solar energy and make sun's what. I just feel like I'm not smart enough for any of these things. I don't feel like I'm smart enough for it. Like, obviously common sense and stuff, but like, I don't really have much common sense. We've spoken about this a lot. I'm dreadful with like situational stuff, trying to like figure it all out. I feel like I would be so lost. Like I have a dream of like a dream cottage in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if I'd be able to do it, right? Survive off the land and use my own like common sense for it. I wish. I really do wish. Oh god, I went last Saturday, 9 hours outside. 9 hours outside and it felt like 100 plus. With highs on my legs and chest got dehydrated. Oh my god. I wonder if like, were you worse like a couple of days after too? Because there's supposed to be like a rule with POTS where it's like a 3-day rule where like what you did 3 days ago is what now affects you as well. So like if you did something 3 days ago and 3 days later you feel like absolute crap, it's because of what you did 3 days ago. Problem is your PC acts as a heater. It does. But I shamefully admitting to this, my PC is on from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep. Unless I'm not in the house. If I'm not in the house, it goes off, obviously. But if, like, I'm in the house, like, the PC's on. And I hear that I just admitted to that because that makes me sound terrible, but... You know. Yes, awful. Ugh. I hate to imagine that. You don't have much common sense. Oh, your windows would be open. You know, I come out here and I'm like, hey guys, I really like you guys. You guys are cool. You guys are great. I love you. I get bullied. I get bullied by you guys. If you get one of those freezer blocks. You mean these? You're just like, show you one I made earlier. Oh, that's not the right thing. That you put in a cool bag, pop it in front of the fan, it'll cool the room down. You just need to find a way to catch the water off the block. I don't know. I'll have a think about it, but it's just like my problem is I don't have anywhere for something to go. We don't have much room for like storage and stuff in the house. We've kind of used it all up. We've kind of used it all. So like for me to store something, it has to fit in my room. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't have anywhere for it to go. I have things in my wardrobe that are not clothes. I have my tripod over there, my ring light, for if I ever decide to make a video again. So right now, you know, it's more for like social media content actually now that I think about it. I make like, when I do TikToks and stuff, I use it for that, but I haven't used it in a while. And that's all I have over there. And then all I have is this corner behind me. And I'm not buying something like a fan and putting it in the background of my stream. My guitar is going on that wall when I get it too, so I'm not putting a fan over there. So you know what? I'll suffer, it's fine. But, I mean, it's fairly simple according to position in the world. The sun will always point north, south, etc. So if you know which direction you're facing, just use sun's direction to guide you. See, yeah, that does make sense, right? But for me, it's, I never know which way I'm facing, and I think you could use like a compass, right? I've never even used an actual compass, I don't think. I actually don't think I've ever used a compass. I'm just now realizing that. I might have used one once when I was, a Girl Guide, maybe, or a Scout. But I don't remember it. I don't remember it. So I would just be terrible. I would be the person that gets you lost in the woods, quite literally. You have a fan under your laptop. I don't have a laptop, but I have a PC, and they have like... I don't even know how many fans this PC has. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, including the graphics card and the CPU cooler fans. So my PC does so pretty cool, but it's just like, it is still a heater because obviously it's, you know, it's a brick. A big brick. We love you too, that's why we give you a hard time. I'll let you off, okay? I'll let you off. You have a loft you could put in for the winter? Nah. We have an attic, but it's like locked off. And even if it wasn't locked off, I'm pretty sure there are birds that have gone in there somehow and they go in there every day and leave. So I don't think putting anything up there would be very good. I'm almost pretty sure there's a hole somewhere in the roof that's not big enough or in a position for it to cause a leak. But they're able to get in there because I swear the magpies live in there. I'm not gonna lie, I think they do. Either that or there's a nest on top of the house and we just can't see it. Because that's the only thing that makes sense to me. I forget people actually have PCs that use a gaming laptop, but gaming laptops are really good though. I always wanted one when I was younger. I had to save for this PC for years. Absolutely years. So I was a mobile girly, and then I was a Xbox old gen. And then I got my PC finally, and like after COVID, when the prices went up, I bought one. Because that made sense. The PC was supposed to be only about, I think it was supposed to be about like £400 or £500, and it ended up being like 1,000. The COVID prices doubled everything. We don't have compass, we use the land as direction. Let me use the ads. Oh god. Nope. Plan for direction, for example, from our position, mountains facing south towards the city tree line is north for us, and the lake is slightly northwest, and our cabin is northeast, sorry, and our cabin is southwest. Oh my god. It sounds like something out of a fairy tale. I don't know how to describe it from like how I'm hearing it, but it... Oh wait, I wasn't gonna play it. I need to end stream soon. It genuinely sounds like something out of like a film or a fairy tale or something. The way you're describing all of this is so like... Honestly, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yes. I love it. It's just to have the work, my desk is addressed. Yeah, I use my PC setup as a place to eat, a place to play, a place to do uni work, a place to do my makeup, my hair. It's all here. I don't have a vanity or anything. You need to get that sorted or you end up with a lot of tiny hopping. No, I don't think we actually do. We just say it a lot of the time. They go on the roof a lot. I don't think they're actually in the roof. Kind of a joke. I swear. Like, we would probably know about it if they were actually in the roof. We had a business not often. We had some unwanted visitors because of them. Yeah, I don't think we actually do. I think they just, like, go up there a lot and then they come back down. Because I think you can see I have a tree. And then this is another tree. There's, like, 3 big trees outside my room. One of them has a magpie nest in it, I think. The other one, I think, has... potentially a robin's nest or something like that. They have like 2 or 3 different bird families that live in the garden for sure. Blackbirds, that's it. Blackbirds, magpies, and robins. So I think they might just like sit on the roof a lot. But I think their home is out there. Wherever the sun hits, that's the position we point our mirrors. Yeah. That I could probably do. But like, my logic is terrible. It's like, oh, like, you know, just go south. Where? I'm bad. I use, like, the internet for everything. It's terrible. I'm honestly terrible. Oh, I don't think Mulpies is going live today. I don't think she's going live. It's 6 and she's not live yet. I was gonna raid and say congrats. Because, a PALIA partner, but we'll give it a couple minutes because I'm going to open these for you guys. I wasn't going to do this, but I decided I would because I haven't opened them in a while. We're going to open 4 of them. Plus the sun hitting our mirrors helps us find our way home because when the sun heats up reflective objects, it creates this vibration. Oh, wow. Okay. See, I can't even follow a map. Even on Google Maps, when, like, my mum's driving and I'm, like, the passenger princess with, like, the phone giving directions, I'm like, I don't know which way it's telling you to go. It looks like it's telling you to go left, but maybe it's going right. Yeah, before we open these, let me just see. Maybe it's just not showing up for me. Oh, she doesn't stream on Monday. No. Okay, we'll have to find someone else. Maybe we'll raid on Wednesday and say congrats. Does this drop work? I don't know what you pasted. It might be a that may be a link. If it's a link, I can't see the link, and the links do not post. I'm sorry. Just use our senses, try the vibration to home. See, your IQ must be a lot higher than mine, because I don't think I would survive in the wilderness. I love the idea of being out there and like being with the world and everything, but I'm not good with it. I'm really not. I am terrible. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Let me just see something, and then we'll open these Zeki coin balls because I really, really want another plushie. And so far we've done okay with opening these Zeki coins because we've managed to get a good couple. Okay, I gotta hurry up. Like ads keep popping up. We managed to get a good amount of plushies from them. Other than Narrowboat, but that's the cost of living in nature I want to go. I just have this dream of like a farmhouse, cottage looking thing in the middle of nowhere with no neighbors with a farm, like a little farm, like enough to like live off and enough to like probably like, you know, sell stuff from. And then like have wisteria growing up beside. It's unrealistic. It's probably never going to happen. And I don't think I'd survive. Okay. I'm not saying it's easier, but it's ever easier. But my boyfriend and I have learned together through hard times. Yes, I think we've been together 12 years. See, I think that's the thing. You guys are very like, you guys must be perfect for each other, honestly. Like if I really think about it like that. 12 years and you guys have like done it together is, I love that. That's amazing. Okay, I think I found someone to raid, so we're actually going to open these. We're going to open these, and then I'm going to send you guys over there. If Multiplies happens to be live before we end, then we might go over there. Otherwise, I have someone else amazing we can go over to instead. I would survive living in nature, but I'd miss your streams as I wouldn't have internet. Bodie. I'm flat. Okay. You guys, we do the thing. Oh no, how am I gonna... Okay. We got fireworks. For reference, we got fireworks. I'm annoyed. Next. We got one! It's not the one I wanted. I've already got one. But we got a plushie. Hello? Let's go. Oh my god, okay. We have two more. We got the bed again. It's a bed. I've already got it. But I'm not complaining because it's not ingredients or fireworks. Okay. We got some stuff. We actually got some stuff. We can't fast travel home, so I think I might just close the game where I am. And then open up this. Let's see if I can actually read into them. Did that work? Yes, it did. It was nice to meet you. I'm usually still live at this time, but if I'm ever not streaming when you are, I'll stop by again for sure. Thank you for being here. It was nice to meet you. I hope everyone has a good rest of their day. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it. I will not be live tomorrow, but I will be live on Wednesday at 3 p.m. BST. That's British Standard Time. If anyone needs to know that. But yes, we are gonna go right into Asteria. I don't want to mess up the name. We've raided there before. And they are so lovely. So please go say hi. If you do need to go take care of yourself though, don't feel pressured to raid. Yes. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. I'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good rest of your day.